Welcome back, everybody, to the Meet the Bus podcast. I am your host, Jeffrey Reckes, and we are back this week for episode 22. And this week, we're changing things up a little bit. So on the podcast so far, we've had brass members coming on the podcast. We've had color guard members coming on the podcast. We have percussion people coming on very soon. Plan for percussion people to come on, absolutely. Trying to get a drum major in there as well. Daniel Belcher, if you're listening, literally any time of the day. Yes, 100%. But today, we're going to look at a different area of the activity that recently has just been like booming throughout the drum corps community that I don't really see being covered online. Not a lot of shine gets put to it. It's the people that, help out with your action shots, that help out with, the videos, the content, the marketing, the recruiting, everything that helps make a drum corps look very cool. We're going to look at the media side of the activity today. I'm very excited to talk to who we have on this week. So without further ado, let's introduce our guests. So today, guess who I have on the podcast was a conductor and trumpet player for the Colts in 2016 and 2017. He was with the Ionic Winter Guard in 2018. He was on Colts admin in 2018 as well. And then most recently has been on the Ionic 2023 media team, last summer with the Blue Knights media team. And then this year, we'll be with the SCV media team for the summer. Is currently a part of the WGI media team. Was with Marching Mizzou for their past season, and then was with and will be with tomorrow the Levoot Performance Ensemble. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a mouthful. Please welcome on Sam Mohler. Sam, welcome onto the podcast, good sir. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
There's so many words there in the beginning. I tried to do the intro the first time, and it was just getting ready for all the words that were going to come out of my mouth. And it was like my brain was moving like 50 miles an hour. So I was like, wait, I got to remember what the hell I'm going to say next. But it's great to have you on. I'm really excited to get into the, I'm really excited to get to talk about just the media portion of the activity. Because as I sound right now, a little stupid as a performing member, that was just something for me. I did it from 2016 to 2020 basically until COVID happened. And for me, I really didn't have like a resemblance of a media team until 2018. Like we had a media team, we had, a couple photographers, a couple people putting media together for us. They did a little series for the summer. And then of course in 2019, we had our media team. And that's where I feel like the introduction of these media teams coming in, that's where I feel like we started to see that come in. So for you, right off the bat, if you want to just tell the people, I've kind of said everything in the beginning, but if you kind of just want to tell the people what you're up to right now, because you're a very busy man.
Yeah. So right now, I am getting prepared for tomorrow. Is more of a fun thing for me. I am I guess I don't really have an official title. I kind of do whatever is needed with the camera. But with
Yeah.
the Levoot Performance Ensemble, so we are an independent open class guard in St. Louis that
Mm-hmm.
started 5 years ago, which was a really unfortunate time to start a winter guard. That was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So brand new winter guard season got cut short. This is our 5th season. 2 years ago, we didn't make semis at Worlds, and we are currently ranked in 1st place. So
Woo!
we are,
Rocking.
we're kind of getting up there, which is really cool to see for the St. Louis area.
Where's WGI at right now in the schedule? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit of a fake fan, so I don't know where. I know we're getting close to finals, but I don't know if we're at the regional yet.
So yes, so we just did our Cincinnati regional. That's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
But WGI finals is beginning this upcoming Thursday. So
Okay, very cool.
less than a week away.
Okay, cool. So what do you guys have right now? We're recording on April 5th on a Friday. So what do you guys have going on this weekend? By the time everyone sees this, that would have already happened. But like, what are you guys up to this weekend?
So tomorrow is the Circuit Championships. That is MCCGA. I think it stands for
Mhm.
the Mid Continent Color Guard Association. Just guard.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much every guard in Missouri. We have a few guards from Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, some other groups like that. But
Mhm.
that's just our local circuit championship. So we always do that. We try to do that a week before WGI is kind of a send off. And then, a few of those groups move on and compete in WGI.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm very excited to get into all of that with the media aspect of what you do. But for now, Kind of kicking us off with everybody who comes on the podcast, I kind of like to start at the beginning, kind of start at the beginning of your performance career, kind of how you got into DCI in general. So for you, how were you introduced to DCI?
So I went to Parkway South High School. It's in Manchester, Missouri, suburb of St.
Nice.
Louis, which I think is a little kind of close to where you went to high school.
I was gonna say, yeah. So I don't think I've talked about, like, I've mentioned I went to high school in St. Charles, Missouri. I mentioned I went to high school in Missouri, but I went to Francis Howell, just the Francis Howell, straight up, just the main one. I
Yeah,
forgot how far is that from. It's like what, 20-25 minutes from
20
Parkway
minutes. I
South.
think I imagine our high school bands competed a lot.
For sure, we
I'm
definitely
sure
did. Probably in
I'm
the
sure you and
same
I went
division.
head to head. Yeah,
We
Oh,
definitely
yeah,
did. Probably in the same division.
yeah, probably.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so when I was 14 years old, my section leader was a mellophone player for the Colts,
Hmm.
and I remember at band camp, it was explained to me, your section leader's not going to be here. She's busy. And I was like, well, that's a little weird. Like, if someone were the section leader, wouldn't you expect them to be here? And they're like, oh, no,
Right.
no, no, no. Like, she's
It's different.
busy. Like, she's doing like band. And we are like, no, like, we're all doing band right now. Like, where is
Right.
she? And they're like, no, no, no. There's this thing called Drum Corps International. Like, look it up. So I
Yeah.
went home and looked it up. I think the first show, no, this is for certain. The first show I ever watched was Cavaliers 2002, which is Framework.
Wow.
And that's a show that has stuck with me ever since. I remember seeing that as a 14-year-old and I was like, this is pretty cool.
Dude, what a first show to get introduced to. I feel like so
Right.
many people that have come on the podcast, when I talk to them, they're like, I watched like Crown 13. I watched like Coates,
Yeah.
whatever. It's always the
Yeah.
big name show. So it's like
Yeah.
Cavaliers '02 is like, bro, the boomers in drum corps, that's their wheelhouse right now. They just heard you
It's
say
a
that. They're like, bro,
fantastic show.
yes. It is. It really is.
Um,
Was that Frameworks or was that '03?
that is
Was Framework?
Frameworks. That is Frameworks.
Let's
Three,
go.
I believe three
Really
is
good
Spin
show.
Cycle. Um,
I think so. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, but
I love
I
that
just
whole
knew
era.
what.
I don't know by name
Yes,
necessarily, but love every show from that
really
era.
good era. Absolutely.
But yeah, so that was kind of my venture into like the rabbit
Mhm.
hole. And then I didn't go to a live show until 2013. I
Okay.
got very lucky. I went to DCI St. Louis in 2013, 11 years ago, and one of the first shows I ever saw live was Crown 2013.
Wow.
So that I think that show changed my life because that was the show that everyone has like that one show. And that was the show for me that I was like, okay, this is something that
You want to
maybe
do
I'm
it?
not I wasn't at that point yet, but I
Mm,
was like, okay, I'm gonna, I want to. I'm decided I'm a fan of this activity now. Like this is
right.
neat. Like I want to go to shows from now on. And I think the next year, keep in mind, Crown 2013 was so like as a high schooler, it felt so unobtainable. Like that just felt like
Yes.
something that even to someone who's marched drum corps, it's like, how do you even
Like, these are
get to that point?
professionals. There's
Yes.
no way I could ever do something like that.
I still
Mhm.
feel that way when I watch that show. And so I was still like, okay, that was a fun dream, but
Yeah.
so the next year I remember I went to specifically this was in Warrensburg, Missouri, kind of near Kansas
Mhm.
City. Champion of Champions. I saw Tilt, Blue Coats 2014, and I saw
Yeah.
Fellini-esque. And that was the moment that I was like, I have to do this. Like I will kick myself for the rest of my life if I cannot do this.
Codes 14 was the show for me. Like, that was the
Was
one
it?
for me. Codes 14. Like, I watched my brother, he did it in 2012 and 2013. So I got to watch 2 years before. And like, I liked Crown 13, but I wasn't completely bought in yet. And then
Mhm.
I saw 2014 in the theaters. I was like, can we go see a show live? And then we
Yeah.
went and saw a show, and I saw that shit live. And I watched it finals night, like prelims, semis, and finals. And every night that show, I was like, I have to be in my seat. That was the show for me. I was like, gotta do drum corps right there. Yeah. But with your story, how did Colts come along in your life? Was it just being in the Missouri area, or was it like, for me at my high school, a lot of the staff who taught me, a lot of the people who went up and marched somewhere, they would march at like Blue Stars or they would march at Colts. I had a friend of mine who's been on the podcast already that marched with you in 2016 and 17, and Zach Adams. So he
Mhm.
went and did Colts. We had Blue Stars, a couple people go there, but a lot of our staff and people who taught us were Madison Scouts people. So kind of all in that Midwest general area. So for you, was it kind of just a distance thing of like, I can do this around here? Or for you, was it just like, this makes sense for me right now?
So one fun fact, I actually carpooled with Zach Adams to a few camps in 2016. So shout out Zach
Ah,
Adams and thank you to his
nice.
mother for driving me to those camps.
Hell
His
yeah.
mom, by the way, his mom marched Star of Indiana. I don't know if you knew that.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you probably did.
I've
Um,
wanted to steal the jacket because he would always wear like
yeah,
after he marched, he finally understood because he didn't know what like Star of Indiana was before, and
yeah.
then he marched, and then like after we would be in shows in high school, and after shows in high school, he'd be wearing the Star of Indiana jacket. I'm like, I might take
It's
that.
just like the coolest piece of merch you could possibly have.
Yes,
So
yes,
the distance thing was cool because I could carpool with people, all that.
right.
Like I said, I went to high school with a few people who marched Colts.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like just I was like, well, they liked it, so I trust them.
Hmm.
It was actually the third drum corps that I auditioned for. Um,
Ooh,
so which isn't like it's not embarrassing to me or anything. I was cut
no,
from the Bluecoats in 2015.
right.
I jumped on the tilt hype train, was one of, a million high schoolers across the country with no drum corps
Yeah.
experience, never marched straight leg in my life to audition for the Bluecoats. I got cut instantly.
Hell
um,
yeah.
so I was like, okay, I'll try something else.
Hmm.
So I tried Cavaliers.
Hmm.
I got a call back with Cavaliers. I also auditioned for Colts, I think the weekend after.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
the atmosphere with Colts just vibed a little bit better with me.
Mm,
So that was the drum corps that I went with.
just makes sense. Yeah.
I remember I liked trying to think about what it was I liked so much. I think I just really I did like the co-ed atmosphere. That's something that
Mhm.
I personally enjoy. And
100%.
and yeah, something about Colts just like really spoke to me. So it was cool that it was like, they're based out of kind of a small town,
Yeah.
um, Iowa, like kind of, a state that's, got farmlands and all sorts of, Midwestern things when you think of the Midwest. So that's
Close
something
by
about
too.
yeah,
Coming
it's
from
close. So
Missouri, yeah.
something about Colts felt really like home to me. So
Mhm.
that was that was the one I stuck with.
Absolutely, and I mean, like, it's not cheap to, like, fly across the country, like, in
It is
2016,
not.
like, it is just not, dude, and it's
No.
so much travel, like, going from Missouri, flying all the way to, Portland it was definitely not easy, and being close to home, that's
Yeah.
absolutely sometimes I think about it and I'm like, why the hell did I have to go all the way to Oregon for 3 years coming from Missouri? I never knew why because I'm like, there's like 4 or 5 cores, and you have Phantom, Cavaliers, Blue Stars, Colts, like who else is it? Scouts. I think I already said, I don't know,
Right.
but they're all
Yeah.
within that area, and I'm like, nah, I have to go West Coast. I have to go 2 hours behind the time zone. But for going into your first summer, I'm guessing you did 2 summers, so were you already in college by the time you did your first summer?
Yes, those were my last I was a junior in college.
Awesome.
Yes. So I finished my junior year of college, then did my first summer of drum corps. I got in a little later than I wish I had.
No, absolutely. So when you get there though, you're kind of already like prepared for the things that are going to kind of come, not like the full force of what drum corps can be because it
Right.
obviously there's a learning curve for everybody, but
Yes.
coming in as a college kid who's had the time to like leave home, kind of be away from everything, have that individual responsibility kind of be put on you. You're you're more prepared for it, I would say, when you get there. And for you though, I'm curious because I never did drum corps in college. So for you, how did you manage kind of the like, college lifestyle, school and everything? Because I know that takes up so much of your time in college, and then also managing with, doing drum corps at the same time.
So unfortunately, so let's see. My first two summers sorry, no, my first 2 years of college, I did
Mhm,
marching Mizzou,
mhm,
which is actually a place I'm on a media team for. Love marching Mizzou.
mhm,
But with drum corps, I had to give up marching Mizzou, which didn't absolutely
mhm,
have to happen. I know there we have a lot of students that make it work right now, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
I could not find the time to do both. Um, I had to choose drum corps because
Was
it
it a
was a
deal of,
dream.
like, they needed you there for their, like, band camp or whatever?
I just with missing my whole summer, I
Mhm.
needed time to work. Um, and so which is, the expensive drum corps are tough.
Yep.
So I worked 3 jobs during the semester,
Mhm.
um, which
That's
is a
whew.
lot. I taught a high school. I worked in a campus dining hall. Um,
Jeez.
and
And
then
then on top of
yeah,
school. Yeah.
after that I ended up working admin at Colts on the weekends. So whenever there were camps, but yeah, so I think that was unfortunately what knocked me out of college band.
Wow.
Um, because it just wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't. I couldn't go
Mhm.
straight from band to more band and just like never work. It's just
You would
not gonna
burn
happen.
out a band. And it's
Yes.
like, that is such a real thing. Like, no matter how much you love I think this is for, like, anything, but no matter how much you love a thing, there can be burnout in anything.
Yes.
If you just ban, you're a little bit of burnout might happen there.
Yeah.
I had a quick question because it was funny. I was going through kind of doing prep for the interview, but I found your YouTube channel and I found you made a little video about like what to kind of pack for your like if you're doing your first summer drum corps or
Oh,
whatnot.
interesting. Yeah, I remember that video. I
was
forgot about that.
so much of it was funny because I'm looking back on it and I'm thinking about my rookie year in drum corps, and specifically the part that like I connected with was you talking about the mattress portion of the video,
Yeah.
just being like, "Hey man, you don't need to like spend a whole lot of money on a mat like
No,
this whole nice mattress and everything and then go out because like no one I'm so glad you said it. No one makes it through a summer without the mattress
no.
popping. It happens for everybody. You can't like everyone has to get a new one or you get a different bed or something. And it's just so funny because I'm thinking about like my rookie year and I'm like, I made the same mistake of just like getting the nice mattress that was a nice and big off the floor, like nice size mattress, and then like 2 weeks into spring training, like I wake up one morning and my head's on the floor, my feet are
Mhm.
to the sky, and I'm just like, oh, I have a hole in my mattress, and I had a
Once
hole in my. Yeah, I had to sleep on it all the way until the Dubuque show in Iowa.
the second that thing starts squealing, you gotta get rid of it. Like,
Gotta
people are
go.
not gonna wanna be near you, and I don't know
Nope.
if that's what you want, but, like, you're gonna piss everyone off. Like, the second that thing has a hole in it, you just get a new one.
You gotta
Like,
go.
they've got those, like, Intex 9.99 mattresses at Walmart. Like, you
Yeah.
just go get a new one. Just throw it away.
Just go yeah, no, and for me, I don't know, man, maybe I'm bougie, but I always wanted the if I could, man, I would always want the one with, like, the pump, like, it's the one where the pump's in it and everything. Dude, I
Got,
saw
like,
people bring
armrests.
yeah, I saw people that would come to camp and, like, bring the full out bed, like the one you had in the video with, like, a headrest behind it and
They got
everything, and
the head the hea yeah.
I was
Yeah, yeah.
honestly like, honestly, respect to you, dude, I kinda wish I lived your life. But for
Yeah,
you, I
no,
was curious go ahead, what were you gonna say?
no, I was gonna say I never. I think my first season I made that mistake, and then I was like, "No, I'm buying the
Never
crappiest
again.
mattress I can find. It's gonna last just as long." You
I
know,
always considered, like, the cot life, honestly. I always saw it and I was like, "That seems so efficient," and you could just like, it just seems like you could it's so easy to, like, pick up and
yeah,
move,
a
but
lot of drum
then
corps don't allow cots,
really?
just for space reasons.
That's true because they just the way they fold out and everything,
Yeah.
yeah. I can yeah, I totally get that, but for you in your rookie year, was that kinda like I basically all to ask, like, did you have a moment in your rookie year? Because for me, talking about why I talked about the packing videos, because me, I packed 2 fat bags of just, like, clothes and all this extra stuff I thought I absolutely needed. So I had a duffel bag that was filled to the brim, and I had to carry this thing and my suitcase filled to the brim. So, like, anytime we were moving, going into a new place, it was just, like, every day I was like, I'm never packing this much again. Like this was my big mistake because every time getting off the bus, it was the heaviest thing to just pick up and move in. So for you, did you have a rookie year moment of just like, oh man, I'm never doing this again, dude. I thought this was the right thing, and now I'm like, damn, dude, this was not the move.
I gotta be honest, I still notoriously overpack. Like, it's something that I'm
Yeah.
known for, is
Yep.
having way too much stuff.
Hmm.
And honestly, like, on staff, it's a little easier. But as a member, I just weighed my options and I was like, I'd rather make 2 trips and have the things that I need. I'm not
Hmm.
if anyone's listening to this, like, I do not recommend overpacking. Like, it's a really stupid thing
No,
to do.
it's just so much work.
Yeah,
Mm.
but and then you see those dudes that have been doing drum corps since they were like 10, and they just walk in, like lay down on the floor, and they're out. No
Like
mattress or
literally,
anything,
they walk into the
blanket.
gym with just like this box.
Yeah,
It's just a box, and they're just like, "Yeah,
and
dude,
they're
you
just there to
don't."
sleep. I can't do that.
Oh, all my speakers just fell, whatever. But they literally just walk in. They're like, "You just got to bring 3 shirts for the whole summer." And it's always
The-
like the 6 year age out who's like, "Yeah, I wear 3 white tees and I have
Yep.
my section shorts." And you
And
just
they're
wash your
wearing that,
shirt.
they're wearing that on free days too.
Yeah,
That's what-
because they're like it makes more space in the bag. I don't have to carry a lot, so it's like, what's the
That was
problem?
always the fun thing about free days is there's like, the 90% of the core that like they get dressed up, they do makeup, they put on
Yeah.
a dress, whatever. And then there's like the dudes who show up and they've got their section shorts. They've got a white t-shirt that's got a yellow stain around it. And they're like, I didn't pack nice clothes for a free day.
I didn't pack
So,
nice.
you gotta respect it. You just
Dude, pro tip for all the people out there doing it, just like $5 Hawaiian shirts from Walmart. If you ever make a
yes.
Walmart stop, just I don't think you're ever gonna go wrong as a drum corps kid wearing a Hawaiian shirt and cargo shorts. Like you're never gonna go wrong with that. And just some like cheap sandals. They'll be like, that's a drum corps kid right there. That make just get yourself some clothes, you know?
And here's the
But
thing with that. On days where you've run out of sunscreen, you're running out of time, we
mhm.
call that SPF shirt, right? You just throw on a you could save so much sunscreen by just throwing on a shirt on those kinds of
Throw a
days,
shirt. Throw a
you
shirt
know?
on, man. So I'm curious because before we started recording, you talked a little bit about how, because I was asking, I was like, you did trumpet this year and
Mhm.
conductor in this year, and you're like, no, it's reverse. And kind of, so for you, do you want to kind of tell the story about how you did the whole conductor trumpet role?
Yeah, it's a super weird one.
Okay.
So, I auditioned for the Colts in November of 2015.
Hmm.
I got a contract on my first camp, which was super dope. I was excited, and then I got injured. So, it's not an injury that is occurs frequently. I ended up with
Yeah.
nerve damage right on my the middle part of my upper lip.
Oh.
Um, it came from some poor playing habits that I had had since high school.
Hmm.
Um, where I was a brass player, I used significantly too much mouthpiece pressure when I played, and it actually started to damage the nerves in my lip.
Oh my God.
Um, it's super weird. So, um, there was actually like this was at the University of Missouri, so there was
Hmm.
like a dude in the medical school that actually like wanted to come. Like I was interviewed by him, and like we talked about it. He did like a whole case study on this because it was
Hmm.
something they'd never seen before. Um, but I remember this would have been around like January, February with Colts. Um, I think that was the point where they were like, "Hey, we need, you mentioned this possible injury.
Hmm.
We need this doctor to sign off that you can go." And he wouldn't sign it. So he kind of told
Hmm.
me like, "Hey, if I sign this, you'll be able to do drum corps, and it'll probably be the last time you're ever really able to play this instrument."
Dang.
Um, so he's like, "This will heal if you take time off." So I was told to take a whole year off from playing. So it's like, all right, well there goes that. So, but then I
When
thought
did this
about it.
happen within the season in 2016? Because this happened 2016, right?
This wasn't during the season. This was during this.
Okay.
Sorry, this was in college band.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So were
So
you a
you,
music major when you went to school?
yeah, music education. I have a degree in music education.
Word. Okay,
Um,
cool. Very cool.
so that would have been around the time of November campus where I first got screwed up. Um,
Mm,
but the doctor wouldn't sign it, so I was like, okay, I accepted it. And then a week later, I reached out to the Oregon Crusaders. I reached out to Blue. I reached out to the
I
Cadets.
like the laugh before you
Yeah,
said
I reached
that.
out to Blue Devils B. I
Uh,
started bugging all these cores that still had openings because I was like, I'm just gonna lie. I'm just gonna lie. Doctors are stupid. They don't know anything.
hey, at Oregon, you definitely
Um,
could.
which which it wasn't like, I was 19 years old. I was mad. So
Yeah.
like, I'm sure somewhere I still have the emails that I went back and forth with Gino at the Cadets where I was like, yeah, like I could probably learn trombone like really fast. I saw you have an opening, and like I don't play trombone.
Just
So
anything to do it though.
I was like, anything. I'll do anything. So at
Right.
this point, like the dream of doing drum corps this summer is like, yeah, I've at this point I think I've bought tickets to go to a show. Like it's
Absolutely.
not gonna happen.
Hmm.
Um, and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks before spring training, I get a call from the director of the Colts, Vicky McFarlane,
Mm.
and she says, "There's an opening for a conductor position. We would actually like to have 2 conductors this season. We saw that you were initially contracted and you're
Like
pursuing a
you had to
music
drop
degree.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, can you conduct?" And I was like in my head, I
Music
was
ed
like,
major.
I don't know, because it was really early into my music ed career, but I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course,
Why not?
I've conducted this and that, and I can do I can do anything."
Fake it till you
Um,
make it, dude.
so anyway, they were like, "Cool, you got the contract." So,
Hell
like, that
yeah.
contract the contract offer happened over the phone, so I didn't even go to April camp, because
That's so
it was
sick.
after April camp.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so anyway, I packed and I moved in. I had just
Bro.
gotten the show music, so I didn't know it, which was, like, super embarrassing. But it is what it is. I remember
Mhm.
the first week of spring training, I was still up on that ladder trying to read the sheet music at my feet. Um, did not know how to program a metronome, which is something that now I could do, like, in 5 seconds. Um,
100%.
but oh my gosh, that first 2 weeks of spring training was hell.
Yeah,
In
that's
like
gotta
a
be
g
like the
in
most
like a
stressful thing.
in a character building way. Like, I'm glad I went through
Yes.
it.
Like that moment, having that has to be like
Yeah,
one of the most stressful situations ever because it's so like as a conductor
yes.
very like crucial on the field.
But,
Like
yeah.
how did you like get comfortable in that position?
As a conductor?
Just like yeah, because for me, I feel like if I, like I'm a trumpet player as well, and if they were
Mhm.
just like, like, hey, can you come and conduct? And I was like, yeah, I'd be like, dude, this core is fucked. Like being able to pick it up that fast, like for I just how did you do that?
I had no choice. I mean, truly, like, it was a matter of a fear of, "I don't wanna be the one messing this whole thing up,"
Yeah,
which as a conductor is a very vulnerable position because, like, for example, this show started backfield. So, like,
yeah,
my rookie season of drum corps, I was starting off the show, which is really overwhelming. And after a while, it was totally fine.
yeah.
Which is like kind of how drum corps goes. Like, it's the first show is terrifying. I remember
Hmm.
walking out of Whitewater, Wisconsin used to be our first show, and it was the
Hmm.
first show for a lot of corps in the Midwest.
Hmm.
I remember just like I don't think I've ever been as scared in my entire life as I was walking out of
For the
that field
first
for the
downbeat.
first time. For the first downbeat and seeing like, oh gosh, like, a year ago, I was sitting up in those stands, and now those people are paying to watch me.
They're gonna
Like,
watch
that's
me start the show.
scary. That's terrifying.
Oh my
So,
god.
it's just something that, like, it was really scary at first, and it sucked, and then I got used to it, and I had a
Yeah.
great summer. I really
Hell yeah.
competitively, we didn't do much, but I had a great time.
Yeah, like still top 15, still a very fun show. Still got to wear the cool uniforms, like, the old traditional back in the day uniforms,
Had
like very,
Shakos,
very
feathers,
cool.
all that, yeah.
The whole bit, the whole band hat and all.
Yep.
I was kind of curious from you because I got to talk a little bit about just the uniforms with Zach because I think Colts have like a really cool design, honestly, and it's cool how the uniforms have evolved with the shows, but it still feels like they keep some of the like Colts character within all the new uniforms. I was curious from you, just a little side thing, like what have you thought about the new uniforms and kind of where the core's gone with all that?
I think the Colts, have done a really solid job at staying true to their identity,
Hmm.
um, which is that they haven't abandoned that sense of like we're from a small town, we're from Iowa, we're from the Midwest. That's not something that they have abandoned as they've gotten better.
Yeah.
And we used to be a solid like that 15-16 range was kind of every year for a while. We got stuck in that rut. And
Hmm.
then in 22 they broke into finals and they kicked it up a notch last year. They were freaking clean.
So
Um
good, dude.
and that's
Oof.
something that, that they really have going for them is
Hmm.
I the show really grew on me last season.
Hmm.
I remember thinking this is really odd for the Colts, and then as time went on, I was like, okay, I get it.
This is
Like,
Colts.
this
This
is a
Yeah,
really
this makes
beautiful show.
sense.
Like, this really means a lot to me as somebody who marched here.
Yeah,
I just think it's
that's really
cool that
cool.
they're still the Colts.
Mhm.
They still have their camps in the same place, like
Wow.
Dubuque, Iowa. That's something that's really been neat. Um, I'm all for the change in the activity because I think
Mhm.
ultimately, like, appealing to the fans is important, but really
Yeah,
appealing to the high schoolers who are gonna end up
doing
joining
it
the
the next
activity and growing
generation.
it. I think
Mhm.
I think the most important thing is appealing to the next generation.
Yeah, and,
Um
like, it's really cool how the last couple years of the activity, I feel like it's just taken a really big bump in, like, terms of, like, design and just, like, not only designs of shows, but just, like, the uniforms and the props and everything. It
Mhm.
is becoming a lot more, like,
Yeah.
appealing, just like you said. Yeah.
I think that there was some rough moments at the beginning with all the designers kinda trying to figure out like, "Oh gosh, we just blew this whole thing up. Like, what do we
Mhm.
do?" And then over time, you've kinda seen like, for example, the Blue Coats did a show last year that could not have existed 5 years ago.
No
Um,
way.
and it's just like it's really I think it's starting to fall into place
I was
with,
just talking about
you
this
know
like before we started the interview. There's been like these 4-year eras basically ever since I've been around it, ever since I was like a little kid. Like my brother started in 2012 and that felt like the maybe the middle, but like for me that was like the start of an era. And from 2012 to 2016 was its own era of drum corps kind of evolving, and then we got to downside up, and that was the start of like the
Yeah,
new era of drum corps there with
yeah,
design of shows. Uniforms really started to happen within 15 and 16, kind of changing to where we are now. And that was like the first iteration of the traditional uniform going away and the traditional style of a show going away. And then 16 to COVID was its own era that built up into what we have now, which is kind of this new era of like it almost sometimes, I know people always said it before, but I think now more than ever it feels like Broadway more
yeah,
than like, and
yeah.
which is cool. I'm not like discrediting and being like, "Oh man, back in
No,
my
no, no,
day."
no.
Like, no. It's cool. It's really cool to see how like a show like Colts and a show like Troopers where, back god damn it, I just said back in my day, back in my little time of marching, like to see those groups now take the chances that they're taking and just the design of shows getting to where they are, I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool. Something I wanted to talk about kind of moving in the performance career, going into your second year. So you do conducting in your first year, and then your second year, do you go back to trumpet for your second year, and which would be your age out as well?
Yeah, so my second year, the I remember having an interview at the Colts like to it's called an interview, but it's
Hmm.
like there's a few reasons for it. One is like they really want to prepare their students for success in future careers and in life and things. And that's something that's really important to that organization. So
Yeah.
they have these interviews with the director and the show designer typically. Um, One is give kids the experience of having an interview, but also they really want to
Hmm.
meet every single person auditioning for the Colts. Like that's always been important. So I had my interview my second year. Even if you're returning, they just want to catch
Hmm.
up,
Yeah.
and they offered me the conductor position. They said,
Hmm.
we really want another conductor, and I turned it down. And I said, I really want the experience of not performing per se, but like
Being on the
a tru
field.
yeah, being on the field. Trumpet is my main gig. There's the awkwardness of being a conductor with like, "Hey, everyone break for section dinner," and it's like, "Oh, you know, what do I do?" And
Where
that
can I
was
hop
always
in?
that's the moment where it's like, it'd be fun to have like that sense of family with,
Yeah.
a crew. So I really wanted that experience, and I really have appreciate both of those summers for their own respective reasons.
That's really cool. So for your age out year, was there like, do you remember anything about that age out summer that like just memories or anything that stick out to you that made that summer special?
Oh, yes. That was my favorite summer of Drum Corps to this day.
Hell yeah, I was
Um,
actually going to ask
it
about
was
that. That's
such an
cool.
awesome summer, and everyone I talked to from I can't say everyone, but, like, so
Yeah.
many of the people that I talked to from 2017 Colts say that was just, like, such a highlight of their marching career.
Wow.
Just a lot of things fell into place. Like, competitively, we weren't super successful competitively, but, like, we didn't care.
The
We
corn
had a
definitely
blast.
took a bump up though in
We
quality.
did.
Like in the
We
horn line
did.
in the show, like
Yeah.
all of that took a big bump.
That was also the start of the new era of Colts with the current brass staff. That was their first year. So
With
and they've
Chad
been
Miller
there
and everything?
Chad Millard, so they've been there ever since, which is really neat.
Wow.
I have a lot of respect for what they do.
Yeah.
Um, but that was such a fun summer. I think a lot of it was the horn line. The horn line loves working with Chad Miller, like, for sure. And he
That's
he really
cool.
made that summer such a blast.
He seems
Um,
like such a character. Like when we
yeah,
talked in Zach Adams' episode, we talked about specifically in 2019 when he did the whole like mic'd up with Chad Miller on the field thing, and it
yeah,
was just a mic'd up with him in rehearsal. And just watching that video alone off of like 5 minutes, I was like, this dude is a character.
it
And
is,
he's gonna
and
be
it's
one of those people who says the thing in your ear where you're like, oh, in the middle of a hot rehearsal day, you're like, don't talk to me right now. But like any other time, you're like, bro, Chad Miller's the man.
you know, just like any good teacher, he's gonna say some things that are gonna get under your skin, but like
Yeah.
they're to make you a better performer. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I have a lot of respect for those guys because I've never seen a caption head so involved in like literally this will be in ensemble and this dude is like running in and out of formations on the field trying not to get hit so that he can give comments on the field. And like a lot of caption heads, aren't
They go to the
that
box.
yeah, they're on the box, which is totally fine. It
Yeah.
was just really interesting that Chad was also, considered himself a tech as well, and he'd be
He
running
wanted to
around on
get
the
in
field.
there. Yeah.
You know, so it was always fun having him around. He's just like a super
Mhm.
motivating guy, and he was always excited to be there, which made us excited to be there. Um,
Absolutely.
but that season, the trumpet section was what made it so much fun. For
That's
me,
really cool.
we may not have made other people's summers fun because we were super annoying, but like, um,
Were you guys like the shitheads of the drum corps?
not. I mean, we weren't like breaking rules, but
I mean,
we,
trumpets always are though. We're pretty annoying.
we had the whole back. We had a brass bus, which somehow
Uh-huh.
just like miraculously ended up essentially being an all male bus, except for I think one or two people.
The
Um,
ratio.
right. So it was like, it was a unique experience
Yeah.
that I'm glad I got my like that co-ed drum corps experience.
Hell yeah.
But it was really unique having this like weird all male experience in the back of
Just a
the
bunch of
bus
dudes on the
where it was just
bus.
like all the trumpet dudes who all had like a similar sense of humor. I still talk
Yeah.
to some of these guys. Um and
Did you
yeah, no,
guys have
that's
like a movie that you guys like? Did you have like your thing on the bus? Like for us at OC, like when you got on the brass bus and you committed for the summer, I'm gonna sit on the brass bus. You were committing to watch all of Avatar, like the show. You were
okay.
committing season one to the end. If you were gonna step on the brass bus at OC, you were gonna watch Avatar. Did you
We
guys have
were
anything
we
like
were
that?
really into Moana. Yeah.
Oh,
We were really
okay.
into Moana because we liked that, Dwayne the "You're
Yeah,
Welcome" song.
yeah.
That was our hype song. So,
Oh,
like,
that's
we
sick.
loved Moana. Yeah.
That's dope. That's really dope. For this summer in 2017, I just had a little question about the show itself. The brain, I think you guys called it, the big
Mhm. Yeah.
the big like color ball. I don't even know how to describe it. I talked to Zach about it. And he was like, "We call it the brain," and I was
We did
like,
call it the
"Cool."
brain, yeah.
How was that all like? How did that all get put together? And were you on prop crew for this year at all? Like, were
No,
you a
I was
part?
not.
You were okay. Well, like I
I
feel
know
like this
nothing about
is
that prop, and I'm so glad that I don't.
because it just looks like so many pieces that get put together, and I'm so interested to like if anyone was ever on a prop. Like I've talked to some crown people who are on prop crews, and they for example like 14. Like I think I had Taylor Womack on in episode 13 or something. And he was on the prop crew for that year, having to put together the trampolines and everything. And it's always cool to
Yeah.
hear a little story
Um,
about that.
no, one thing I will always sing the praises of is for Colts is, like, they're really efficient with how they approach these kinds of things.
Hmm.
And that brain was super interesting. I think well, for most of spring training, we hadn't painted it yet.
Hmm.
It was just silver. So at the time, it just looked like this like space orb that we had on the field. It
Ball.
wasn't. We were like, "Oh, it's gonna be a brain," and we're like, "Okay," but like the audience doesn't know that. And they're like, "Well,
Yeah.
you'll see." So they actually got it painted at I believe what do you call that? The shops where you drive your car in. They like give it a
The
fresh
whole
paint job.
yeah, I know. I
I don't know
like
what
kind
you
of like a
call that.
warehouse kind of deal.
Yeah,
I
but
would
like
say like
I
a
think that's
body
how we
shop
got
or something.
it was a body shop. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
that's how we got that thing painted that year. Is we took it to a body shop and we were like, "Yo, could you like like
Hook us up back here.
no need to explain what this is for, but like can you do this?" And that I'm pretty sure that's how we got it done.
Dude, that is
It
incredible.
was so
Just
cool.
driving that on the back of a trailer pulling in. It's just a
Yeah,
bunch of like truck guys, and you're like, hey, can you paint that shit up? Like, what's this
and they
for?
were
Like,
like, "Absolutely."
banned.
It looks cool too. I thought it up close, it looked really neat. Actually, that paint job was super cool.
It like I it looks beautiful. So to know that that was like painted at the beginning of the season, then what it became, that's really cool. I like that. For your performing, being on the field now, performing in your second year, I'm curious for now that you get to be on the field, what were some of like besides finals? Obviously, everyone loves performing at Lucas Oil. It is
Right.
like the mecca of marching arts. We love to perform there. But other than Lucas Oil, do you remember like a favorite place that you'd love to perform at?
Oh yeah, Allentown. 100%.
Hmm.
Love Allentown.
I
Anything
have,
in a
yeah.
dome. But Allentown especially because there's a big community. It's you got to earn the Allentown crowd's respect.
Hmm.
And a big part of that is because it's the last big outdoor show of the season.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole community of guys out there who are like the purists about that drum corps should not be indoors. And so to them, finals is Allentown.
Hmm.
So you've got this crowd that tends to be a little more seasoned per se, a little more, veterans of the activity.
Very like will you like it's you saying you have to earn it is just so true because it's like it's not like I feel like crowds will be nice across tour, but like if you didn't have like your best show at Allentown, they'll let you know. Like they won't give you the standing ovation. They won't like get super loud when they like they'll clap, but like you won't get the full standing out. And that's how you know you're
No,
like, because it's
around two,
happened to me where I'm
yeah,
just like, yeah, I mean, we finished in that, but we did not get a standing ovation.
around it may have been '05, around '04, '05, they booed the cadets because the cadets had electronics. Um,
Oh
they were
wow.
one of the first corps to pioneer kind of um the voiceovers in a show. And so I remember
Yeah,
they got booed at an Allentown show. And it's so true that Allentown is can be a really tough place to perform. But if
yeah,
you earn the crowd's respect, it's really cool. I also
it
think
is.
that park is beautiful. Um
Yes, that warm-up
that
park is amazing.
and concession stand has funnel cakes, which is like
Yes,
that's my go-to.
that's prime marching band, like, snack of like, yeah,
Yes.
funnel cake in the fall, there's
Yes.
nothing like that at a competition. 100%. I always
Media
thought it was
teams
really
media teams have different feelings about Allentown, which we we can talk about when we get there.
we
But
will
as a
absolutely get into
performer, I
that.
love Allentown.
It was scary my first year because I remember like we did the opening and like, obviously you're pulling up and it's a very like a steep stadium, I would say. It's just it feels like
It's
it's so tall and it just goes
yes, it
forever.
is.
But like the first time we ever like front field and then whenever we had to turn backfield for the first time, I've never felt so alone at a
I
show than when I had to
know.
turn backfield at Allentown. I was like,
There's, like, the
we're here,
tree.
right?
Yeah,
Like we're all still here because it just
yeah,
gets so quiet and it's just like you gotta lock in because it's just like, bro, no one's here. And then you turn around, it's like, oh, here's everybody.
and
Um,
fun fact about Allentown in regards to the Colts, which is in
mhm,
2018, either day 1 or day 2, we were the last drum corps. I was on admin this summer with Colts, and we were the last drum
uh-huh.
corps to perform before it got rained out. And so on the score sheet, Colts are listed in first place because everyone else is listed as DNF or DNP, did not perform.
Yeah.
So to this day, in my mind, Colts 2018 are the Allentown champions of 2018.
Oh, let's go. Dude,
It was the
Colts
highest score of the night. So it's like, what do you
the Colts have won a regional before. It's not just like Crown and Beatty.
exactly,
Like Colts are
exactly.
out here winning regionals too.
It's
You
like
can
we
do it too.
made finals last year, yeah, but like we were the Allentown champions in 2018.
But
Like,
we won Allentown. So
right,
can you ever say that you won Allentown?
right.
That's funny, man. Uh for being a performer as well, I might be able to ask this later, but maybe, skipping ahead, I don't know. But for you, what was being on the road, what was a favorite housing site that you've been at? If you can remember, or
Favorite
like a
housing
specific
site
one in your mind.
as a performer or just in any
Let's
time?
go as a performer since we're talking about the
Okay, let
performing
me.
aspect right now.
I've been to so many housing sites. I gotta think
Yeah.
about this.
I think for
Um,
me, just while you're thinking, for me, a favorite housing site of mine whenever I performed was definitely, I would say Weber State. I'm not gonna lie. Because for
we
me,
didn't go this last year.
yeah, and,
We
like for
didn't go.
me, I always got to perform at Weber State, being like always performing on the West Coast. So it was always something we
Yeah,
got to perform. I think in 2017, like BK always has or always did have the main stadium for rehearsal days. and you just
Yes.
get to rehearse in Weber State. It was beautiful. When I got to do it in 19, I think it's 17, like 17 we had like a practice field down there because we were the Oregon Crusaders. We were not getting the main stadium ever. But Weber State in 2019 was a blast. I thought that was beautiful. I think anywhere on the west. Oh no, I have my real answer. Anywhere in California is my favorite housing site because I had never been to California until 2019. And when that was our, like, we go out there like the week before tour to kind of get ready for everything. And we go out to California. And it's just the first day of rehearsal. We're there. It's like the most beautiful shit I've ever seen in my
Mhm.
life. And it's just like coming from the altitude in Colorado down to California, you're just like, I can breathe again. Like the
Yeah.
sun's out. It's not gonna rain today. It's like that's pretty sick. So I'd say for me, any spot in California that I was in 2019 was the
And
spot.
I this past summer, we had a show in LA, and I loved it so
Mhm.
much, I actually ended up living there for, like, 4 months after tour, so,
No
um,
way.
which is I got back pretty recently, but yeah, I lived in LA for a few months just because I loved it so much over tour.
That's sick.
It was the weather is so nice. But favorite
It's
housing
so
site, I
nice.
remembered Ball State University,
Ah.
Muncie, Indiana, that's actually where the Music for All festival happens, and then
Mhm.
the show where the did you ever perform in that show?
At Ball State, I don't think so. No.
Oh man, it is
No.
it might be my favorite show because it's the one where the crowd is almost exclusively high schoolers,
Yeah.
and they go nuts. It's like
Mhm.
all you got to do is like flip a trumpet, and like you get a standing ovation. It's so much fun. It's
Yeah.
the most supportive show of the season. But anyway, we would end up back there for finals week at Colts, so we
Yeah.
would get that Ball State like I don't followed sports at Ball State, but, like, they
Yeah.
had a
Like.
super nice football stadium. I don't know
Uh huh.
D1, D2, I have no idea, but, like,
Yeah.
it was just this beautiful stadium, and we got it for all of finals week. It was so nice.
Mhm.
That and the showers, it was, like, 40 individual stalls lined up, temperature control. Like, that's something that you can't go wrong with, like, a housing site that has
It's
really nice showers.
it's like living in paradise if you ever get to stay at a college. Like if you ever get to stay at a
Yeah.
university, get the dorms. Like I think in 18 for Oregon, we stayed at Southern Mississippi for like just the show day. It wasn't anything crazy. Like we pulled in at like 5 a.m. and they're like, you're gonna wake up at 9. So like enjoy the 4 hours
Yeah.
in the dorm room. And we were like, all right, cool. But like the just staying in dorms, having the nice field and everything, dude. I don't think there's anything like it. That's
No.
drum corps country club right there. But kind of wrapping out with your performing career, I have a little thing here that we haven't really talked about with age outs on the podcast before. But
Okay.
I was curious from you, just with the age out ceremony. This is a little funny thing. Like I just always thought like and I'm not like arguing or saying like, oh, boo, like the age ceremony sucks. I just always feel like it's funny. I would always see it, and it's literally just like I was always there as a member just because I was trying to find the age outs for my group. And when they would come on the field, I'd be like, yeah, all right, cool, let's leave. And then like it'd be done. But like it just
Interesting.
it's so like it just feels like they bring the members on the field and then like they're just sitting there and then they're just like, here's the cards and now you're age out. I just wonder from you, like, do you think that there's anything that they could do to like spice up the age out ceremony and all, or just make that more? Because it always just feels like a million band kids coming on the field and then they're just like walking around. And it's like finals basically after like the scores, but it's like that's how it basically feels. Like I don't. This is a random like
Mhm.
thing. I thought I would be like, hey, why not talk about it? So I just from you, I wonder like your perspective about it.
I've honestly never thought about how to improve it because I'm gonna be honest, I may be the odd man out with this, but that is one of my favorite memories of my time marching.
Oh wow.
Not as a non-age out, because
Uh
it's
huh.
like, oh, they're aging out. As an age out, we had so much fun with that one is that at Colts, back in the era where we did not make finals, that
Uh
was it
huh.
for us. So that was our grand finale.
Wow.
So we made the most of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm not trying to condone these activities per se, but we took a lot of things on the field. There's an infamous photo of who is now the director of Colt Cadets back in 19, aged out with the giant pizza, like inflatable pizza. And we took, let's see, in 18, our front ensemble took the like the little gazebo, whatever you call it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the thing that they put over the synthesizer cart,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they took that down on the field and they started setting up, beds underneath it. We always
Hell
had a lot
yeah.
of fun with that ceremony. I don't know if that was, like, what DCI intended,
I
but
think it's just for fun, but I always wondered if it was
it
like
never stopped us.
it always like it just I guess I'm not even complaining. I just always thought about it and I've never talked to anybody about it on the podcast.
Mhm.
And I was like, let's just take a
I
moment to
loved
like,
that ceremony.
I
I don't know
love it.
why. And
I don't
also,
know if what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I got so lucky because, for the age outs, right, they have you go and sit up in the stands.
Hmm.
Everyone except for, I think, the top you get there, like, 30 minutes early, so the top 2 drum corps of the summer are still they're not there
Like
yet,
they're
right?
getting all their stuff away.
So what
Yeah.
happens is, typically in a given year,
Yeah.
anyone who is not in the Blue Coats or the Blue Devils goes and sits up and watches those 2 shows as
Yeah.
a, community,
Yeah.
as an entire marching community, and it's fun because it's like you're kind of watching the show, but, like, you get
You're
to be the
talking
old
with
men with
everybody else.
yeah, you are, but you get to be the old dudes with their arms in the air every time there's a big brass hit, like, it's just you're just having fun with it, and, that summer in particular was Metamorph, so it was really cool to
Yeah.
see um, that show with, all the age outs,
Yeah.
and the Vanguard Alumni Corps was also that summer. So,
Hmm.
like, we got to all sit and watch the Vanguard Alumni Corps, which is super cool. I'm
Very,
so
very
jealous
cool.
of all the age outs that, like, they aged out when I still saw it in person, but the Blue Coats Alumni Corps a few
Oh,
years ago,
that's
like,
cool
that
too.
was
That
so
was
much
really
fun.
sick. They put that
Yeah.
together.
And they put that stuff on while they're setting up the age out ceremony. So, like, the age outs all get to watch it, um, which is
That's
neat.
dope. That is really dope.
So
Um,
I had a great time at I hadn't thought about it. I don't know what
that's
other
dope.
people I don't know how
I
they
think I
feel.
just thought back on it, and for me,
Yeah.
it's actually really cool that you bring it up now because for me, I just remember going through and like thinking of just different things, and I was just like, "Huh." The age out ceremony. It always just like I don't know. I never maybe it's
Mhm.
just because I had never really thought about it too much, but I was just like
Yeah.
from you, I had never talked to anybody about it. I was just like, what are some you know is it legit? I never got to do it personally, so I was also just like, hey, what's it like?
Yeah,
Um,
as a media team member, that's one of the greatest nights of the summer
that's
because
sick.
that's the first time all the media teams converge in one area. And
Yeah.
so then we all meet up and we take a group photo and we all meet each other and it's like, "Oh, you're the dude that's been taking the photos of Blue Stars," or whatever.
Yeah.
And then everyone's just, like, hyping each other up, like, "Yo, you guys
Yeah.
killed it this summer." And it's like, we
Yes.
don't have the competitive nature necessarily that, like, the members have,
Right.
not in a negative way, but we aren't that's not
It's
our
a
focus.
community more than
It
it is you're competing.
our focus is, like, how we as a community can build up the activity. So, we're not
Absolutely.
necessarily focused on, like, our drum corps needs to be better than your drum corps. So, at the end of the summer, we finally all get to meet up in person, and it's like it's just a lot of, like, complimenting each other, which is super
Mhm.
cool. But we're all very supportive of each other's work. So, that was the time it's like, I'm a big fan of the Blue Coats media team. So, like, that was my first chance to go find them and be like, "Yo, I
I
love
love your
what you guys
stuff.
are doing. It's great."
And it's like you can
You know?
all learn from each other. You're not
Yeah.
like gatekeeping anything or trying to
No, and
compete
it's
because it's
funny
like
because it's like, I recognize your name, and I recognize your name because we're always checking the photo credits on everything, like, you
yep.
gotta know you gotta know who else is
Doing the
contributing.
good stuff out
Yeah,
here. You wanna,
yeah,
like, take some put me on
right,
game.
right.
Let me know about some stuff. Absolutely, which I think is a perfect segue into kinda what I really wanted to gear kinda everything about today. Um, but first, before we get into the media side of what you do, I was curious, like, after you age out, the big break in between, like, you know, not like you did admin in 2018
Mhm.
and then well I guess it's not that big of a break but also like for you like I guess why did the break happen from I guess from like 19 to 23 like what was happening in between that point and
Yeah.
how did you find your way into the media world.
I got super burnt out after 18. So,
Hmm.
admin is a really difficult job, and I have a lot of respect for the people that do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't for me, and I felt like I wanted to stay involved with the activity after I aged out, and that wasn't the right fit for me.
Hmm.
Um, and media is. And so I'm glad I found that, but I got super burnt out after 18. I was like, okay, I've tried the staff thing. It didn't necessarily go how I wanted.
Yeah.
So I 19, I was like, I'm gonna take a full summer away from band to make sure that this is still something I want to do. So like
Hmm.
19, I went to one show.
Yeah.
I wanted to go see the Colts, so I went and saw when the Hell Freezes Over show, which was
Yep.
cool. Um, but that was it in 19. I didn't go to finals or anything. Um, and so that let's see. Well, then COVID happened. So
Right.
then it was you know
COVID
it was
ruins everything.
right.
Yeah.
So I kind of stayed away in 20. I went to a show in 21. 22, I kind of started getting back into it.
Hmm.
20, and what pulled me back in was that the Colts were in finals for the first time in 15 years.
Right.
As an alum, that was such a cool
Very
summer
cool
for
moment.
everyone. So that was when I had said to myself when I aged out, if the Colts ever head into Lucas Oil ranked in the top 12, I'm buying finals tickets. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm
You
working from
have to,
no matter
as
where
an
I am in the
alumni.
world, like if I'm in Australia, like I guess I have to come back. You know what I mean?
Gotta come back.
So like I was working I was a full-time band director at the time.
Hmm. Oh wow.
Um and I remember I dropped everything I was doing and I flew out there. Because it was like I couldn't miss that, you know?
No, like that's and you never know when that's gonna happen again. So it's
Yeah.
like we
So
didn't know
I
that was just gonna keep
no.
happening.
So I went and that's as a point where it's like also we had just had this activity kind of ripped away from us. So it was
Right.
like I didn't want to take it for granted that like, oh, this isn't necessarily something that's going to happen every year for the rest of my
We don't
life.
know.
So anyway, I go to Lucas Oil in 22. I
Yeah.
see like Tempest Blue, Rifts and Revelations, all those neat shows that were happening that year,
Yeah.
and I got sucked back into it.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, I guess I'm coming out of
I like
retirement.
this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened for me with BD this past summer. Like I went to go see them at Murfreesboro. I watched them rehearse, and then they built the whole like in the Icarus movement, like they built the whole like human tower with everybody in the drum corps basically just doing that whole like visual portion. It's a very much like a transition part of the show. And like just watching that, I was like, yeah, I like this thing again. I miss this. I was just like, this
God,
is it. I love
yeah,
this one
that
a lot.
that show just blew my mind every
Same.
time I saw it, and I am so lucky that as a staff member, I have the opportunities to watch shows like that because, like, I got into this activity because I love watching drum corps.
Yes.
So honestly, such a cool thing about being on staff is that like we've we shot our show and
Hmm.
we've made our social media posts for the night. Let's go in and watch some band, you know?
Why not?
Well, I saw that Blue Devil show so many times. And, like, it just never got old. That, Mandarins, because those are, like, West Coast drum corps we were always hanging with.
Hmm.
But, like, that's such yeah. I
That's a
saw
show
the
I
show
wish I could have
many,
got to
many
watch,
times.
honestly. The
Mandarins, I
Mandarin
saw
show
it
last
so
year?
many times. I got to shoot that show a few times, which was so awesome.
That's
Just
crazy. That's
super
also
cool.
really cool. Hopping back in, this is kind of the portion where I'm gonna play a little dumb because for me, I really didn't even have any sense of like a media team for me in my career until like 2018. We had a media team that kind of gave us a little series over the summer, get our action shots. We had photographers. That was always great. And then 2019, kind of similar deal. Like had a couple videos and then always looking for the action shots on Facebook when those would come through the member pages and all that. But more recently, like when I've done prep for these episodes, in particular, watching the BD 360 series, the Behind the Blue series that you guys did last year, watching SCV's on the Field series from 2022, watching these like really elaborate series come to life and just watch these series and how they like how even 3 years ago stuff like this wasn't happening. um Now in this like day and age, I kind of want to know like I'm gonna play a little dumb here just because I don't I was a performer my whole time, so I want to be able to know from you and kind of let the people know because I feel like it the media team itself does so many cool things for the drum corps and helps so much with recruiting and marketing and so many good things that gets unnoticed just because you guys do so much of the work like behind the scenes. Like you're out there, you're getting the footage, the performers are performing, you're getting all the action shots, but all the work is done like behind the scenes. So I'm curious from you, especially coming back with SEV for this summer, what are some like what goes into a media team for a drum corps nowadays?
So one is it really depends on the drum corps. Although we've gotten to a point where just like a little bit of history.
Yeah.
So, um, I'd say 15 years ago, right? You were like lucky if someone's dad showed up with a camera and took photos at rehearsal, and then like you save them, or disposable cameras, whatever.
You go
You
get them
like
printed.
you cherish them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
There's 2017. There's one action shot of me from that entire summer. Um, and so we didn't have we had a person on staff who was actually on admin, but they also
Yeah.
ran the social media feeds, but that wasn't an
Mm,
official role. One of the
right.
first pioneers of having a media team was the cadets,
Mm.
if not the pioneer. And I don't want, this episode isn't necessarily about, the folding of
The
the cadets.
history of the media
The history,
teams.
well, the
Yeah.
history of the
But this
cadet.
is really good to know. I have no idea
Um,
about this
yeah.
stuff.
And the cadets, one is as they this announcement was just made. It
Oh,
is
yes. Well, that is
it,
also
it is
true.
kind of
I
a
was gonna
difficult
get into
topic
that a
right
little
now.
bit later,
We
but
can't.
yes.
But they were such an inspiration to me, in this journey, and they
Yeah.
were the pioneers of having a media team. So in
Wow.
2011, they published a ton of behind the scenes videos of what it was like to do drum corps.
Mhm.
They have kind of some staff speeches, from finals night, and kind of the reactions of the members, and um, showing the members and how they felt after the final performance of the season. And
Yeah.
it's like, to this day, that video still holds up. It's um Actually, I ended up working with a dude who was on that media team. His name is
Wow.
Adam Adorno. Um,
Shout out
and
Adam.
he's a friend of mine, but he was like one of the pioneers of kind of documenting a season of drum corps.
Yeah.
So he ended up working heavily on BD 360, which
Mhm.
is the behind the scenes look at the Blue Devils.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of that was the next step, and then I feel like the next step in that progression was, I don't know if you remember, there there was, I don't even remember what channel this was. There was like a documentary called Clash of the Cores or whatever. Remember that?
Oh man, the whole Dwayne, like
Yeah.
the Rock show that he tried to
So
do
we
with
were
like his
like,
like company.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I watched the whole thing, and
Yeah.
I felt like the story of drum corps is is a lot different when it's told by someone who is a part of drum corps. Not
Yeah.
necessarily that they've marched. Um,
They've just
but
been around it.
yes, and I
Yeah.
think that from an outsider perspective, or maybe from a sports perspective, you get really into the competitive part and the
Yeah.
scores. And in my mind, the story of drum corps is the people and the relationships and the
That's
memories.
the root.
And that's kind of been the approach of modern media teams, which is a little different than like that kind of strange era where that Dwayne Johnson and his production
It
team
was
weren't drum corps guys.
crazy.
I'm glad they tried. It's really cool that they wanted to highlight this activity.
Yeah.
Shout out to them for that. Um,
I think they
but
could do it
in
again, and I think
I
they could
think
do it
so.
better. I think
I
it's
think
just the
so.
people that were in charge of doing it were not people that were super knowledgeable about what it was. They were just like, "You guys tour and you compete. Let's get the
Right.
action of compete. Let's get
We've
the
gotten
reactions."
huge shout out to Flow Marching, who their
Yeah.
like on the ground media coverage is phenomenal. It's Natalie Shelton and
Mhm.
Tony McCracken,
Mhm.
who are two amazing media creators,
Mhm.
who are both have been participating in this activity for a long time. Tony March
Yes.
Boston, March Cavaliers. Um, and so like those are people who love this activity and want to tell the story of drum corps. And people
Yeah.
are always, I don't know how to say this. People are always saying things about flow marching because, maybe they don't,
100%.
flow marching, there's some streaming stuff which has nothing to do with flow marching. It's run by Flow.
Listen,
Um,
everybody
and
needs something to complain about, so they
everyone
just
needs something to
complain to
complain about.
complain.
But like flow marching does such a phenomenal job of covering some of these events. Like
Yeah.
they were such an inspiration for me in terms of like getting started in photography. So flow was like the next step in kind of the idea of covering this activity. And I think flow
Also,
has
they
done
just
such
started in 2018
it's a
too, so
newer
it's
company, but they've done flow
yeah.
marching does such a phenomenal job of on their social feeds. And I hate going on there and seeing all the comments being like, "Yo, why did my internet cut out at 7:30?" Like you're talking to like the photographer for flow marching and the woman running the social media feeds. Like, these people have no answer to your question. So that's always something that, like, it's like, yo, chill out. Like, go ask the
Like, they're the
text,
media
you know what I
people. Like,
mean?
there's Flow Sports, the company that deals with all of
Right.
like the
I get
production
that
and
too.
broadcast.
It's when I'm signed into like the Santa Clara Vanguard TikTok, I get these comments about like, you know, criticizing the uniforms or things like, what do you want me to
What
do
do you
about
want me
that?
to do about
Like,
that? Go
dude,
tell the staff.
I've been on staff for like a few months. Like, I just got here. So
I just like help make
yeah.
content, man.
So after Flow, the next step was what happened in around, I'd say around 21, 22.
Hmm.
There was a group of people who got together. Um, I know for sure that it was Tony McCracken, who's the photographer for Flow, and
Yeah.
he'll be working with Boston Crusaders this summer. Um,
Nice.
and then Josh Clements, so he was the
Okay.
photographer for the Cadets, currently at Bluecoats. But they decided that it was time to, rather than just have these like, a group chat or whatever, a group text, like they were
Yeah.
like, what if we turn this into a community? So they started a Discord just to see where it would go. That Discord's got,
Hmm.
oh gosh, 1,000 members now.
Oh my
It's
god.
called Marching Arts Media. So that's kind of how
Wow.
we identify ourselves as like we're MAM. We're Marching Arts Media.
Or
Um,
ma'am.
but yeah, we're MAM, and we've
Or
got
ma'am.
merch and everything. But
Wow.
it was really neat that those guys decided like, what if we turn this into a community where like we could teach other people how to do this, we
Right.
could mentor people, and we could help people build connections that would maybe allow them to become like a core photographer or a core
Yes.
social media expert. And ever since then, it has absolutely taken off.
That is
But it
super
was,
cool that there's a community for
yeah,
it.
it was kind of the brainchild of like a few people who were like, yo, other drum corps deserve this too. Like, we gotta build a community around this.
Give people a
Um,
place to go.
and since then, it's true. It's like there's a group photo of the media teams in 2018, and
Hmm.
drum corps had media teams back then, but it was less of this like inner circle. I wouldn't say inner
More for
circle, but
yeah.
yeah. Um, and so there's a group photo of all the media people from 2018,
Hmm.
which is super funny because it kind of shows the progression. In 18, it's like 15 people, and a Lucas Oil employee is yelling at them in the photo to get off the field. That's when they have, so you could see the look on their fases like in shock as this
Go, we
person's
gotta
asking to leave.
go.
And so, 5 years later, the photo has grown by like 4 times. And we were like, aren't you like, we wanted to recreate the photo. We're like, yo, aren't you gonna yell at us? They're like, what?
Someone's gonna yell.
They're like, no, we appreciate you
You're the
guys.
media
It's like,
team.
oh wow, this has
Ah,
really changed. Holy crap. We're like, no, no, like you need to yell at us like just for the bit. And
we
like
need
they
it for the
wouldn't do it.
picture.
Yeah. But it's just like, man, just in those two photos alone, you could see how it's come in the past 5 years. From like a small group of
Absolutely.
people who were chased around to like now it's a community of people who truly love this activity.
Yes.
And we call ourselves like some of the biggest marching arts nerds on the planet because we're dudes
100%.
who like literally are obsessed with this activity, but in the realm of like, how do we promote it and how do we get other people involved and how do we get other people to
Yes.
to love what we do? Um,
Yes.
so it's not just the other thing. I was on auto water break and I was telling them, and this is
Hmm.
something they didn't know, is that we all know each other. So
Right.
if you per se, this is not a threat, by the way, but like say, just preface that.
Sam
But like
sending threats on the
if
podcast
if
today.
you're a staff member who is just really, really rude to your media team, just know that every other media team in the entire activity is now aware of that incident. Like, we all
Oh,
know about it. Not like a
yo,
blacklist kind of thing, but we all
treat
vent
your
for each
media
other.
teams well.
We're like, "Yo, you guys aren't gonna believe what just happened." Um, but the other thing is
Don't
like,
come work here,
yeah,
guys.
well, it's like truly, I mean, if you really, really treat your media team poorly,
Yeah,
other people are gonna know about it.
that makes sense.
We
Like, you
all
guys
know
are
each
so
other. We all
valuable.
know each other.
Yeah.
We all look out for each other. We have a chat where, like, say, over the summer, just kind of like a little voice chat where, like, if you are having a rough time on tour, you can hop in a chat and be like, "Yo, anyone available?" And like say I said that, and maybe like the photographer for Phantom Regiment's gonna hop in and be like, "Yo, what's going on?" And like we
What's up,
talk
man?
through it. Or it's like, "Hey,
Wow.
can I run this by you guys?" So like,
Yeah.
say you do a uniform reveal, typically
Mhm.
like the other Drum Corps media teams are going to be the first people to see it because it's like, hey, what do you guys
Wow.
think of this? Like, we all help each other out. It's
Right.
very much a team effort.
I like that. And the thing is like with the team effort, you guys have managed to grow so much as a
Oh
whole
yeah.
community and it's spread to other groups now. So it seems like everybody can have a chance to like get coverage and like market and promote their core, which is like that's the dream. Like
It
everyone getting, spotlight.
it's something that in our eyes, we tend to say if you are someone who's like, well, I don't really need a media team, then consider
Hmm.
would you have a marketing team? Um, like
Right.
your organization thrives on donations and on a new generation being influenced to become a part of this.
Mhm.
So would you not value spending, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of money for a return on investment that is almost certainly going to happen?
Right.
Um, if you have a hired media team of professionals and some kid out there is going to see the content you're putting out and it's going to inspire
Right.
them to want to be a part of your organization, there's always a return on investment.
Yeah,
um
and it's not like simple like pictures or videos anymore. Like the things that you guys are doing as media teams are so like, for example, like Bluecoats finals day this past year, the Bluecoats media team made this like Travis Scott's album Utopia had like just come out in July, and like it was finals day, and they did this reel on Instagram where it was like using My Eyes, like the second half of the song, and using these quotes from like Kevin LaBeouf, Brass Caption and everything, and doing this like cap cut edit of like all these different action, like all these video shots, all like it was the coolest shit I've ever seen. It was like a thirst trap for drum corps, and I was like, I'm in. Like it looks so sick, and it's like it's more than just like the pictures and like here's our step off time for tonight. It's like it's a whole different game now.
that It's funny you mentioned that video. I was on my phone trying to find it because um the guy who made some of those end of the season reels at Bluecoats, 10 Van,
Yeah,
has been
yeah.
like kind of a pretty big inspiration for me in like how I
Shout out to him, dude. That was
storytelling and digital
phenomenal.
media. Yeah, that's one of the kind of the big dogs of marching arts media that the Bluecoats really are always setting a standard for, in
They're
my
holding it
opinion.
down.
Yes, they have it solid all across the board. Amazing photography,
Yep,
solid video work, like everything the Bluecoats do is top notch. And
really good
really
stuff.
shout out to their media team.
And it makes sense why so many people wanna go out there just because they do the best job at, like, promoting themselves, and
They do.
it looks like a place where it's just like, "This is so cool. Why wouldn't you wanna go do
They
this?" So it
make it
makes
look
sense
cool.
why. Yes! So, like, every high school
They
kid, of
make it
course,
look
is gonna be like,
really
"I
cool.
wanna do blue coats. Did you see that post the other day? Like,
And
I wanna be in that."
I remember on Twitter when someone said, they had slightly controversial uniforms last season with the flowers.
People were
And
just salty because it
I
wasn't like a
I loved
traditional
them.
uniform. I loved them.
And I remember someone on Twitter saying, no high schooler in this country is gonna want to wear that uniform. And I remember the CEO of the
Uh,
Bluecoats, Mike Scott, responding, "Just so you know, there's like 5,000 people on our wait list."
yeah.
And it's true. It's like I remember those flower uniforms out of context looked a little strange. And then it's like you throw that Bluecoats media team on there, and it looks like the coolest shit you've ever seen.
And now it grows on you, and you're like,
Yeah,
"I love that." Like, I got to see him in person, and, like, I remember seeing pictures, I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting." Like, but the activity, like,
yeah.
that's if you've been watching drum corps still since even, like, 2015 or 2016, like, what do you expect now? We're all doing new uniforms. We're not doing classic uniforms anymore. So to see that,
Mhm.
I was like, good for them. Like they're like this doesn't even resemble, I feel like, what we've been doing. This is advancing even further, doing something completely new. And I thought it was super sick. I loved it personally. Um, I was curious though, getting into a little bit more of the media team landscape. I'm curious for you guys, what goes into like a day in the life of being on the media team throughout a summer? Maybe you could do like um maybe do like a day in tour, maybe something
Mhm.
like that, like a day in the life on tour.
So you're not typically well, okay. I was at Blue Knights last summer, and every media team does it a little bit differently.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's a newer thing, and there's not really a like we're a team, but we all have our different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Um, and so at Blue Knights, we were very organized.
Mhm.
We were lucky to have a digital media coordinator at Blue Knights.
Wow.
We had a social media coordinator who was on tour.
Mhm.
So we had a 5-person media team. We had, like I said, digital media coordinator. He was remote from New York City. We
Yeah.
had social media coordinator. Um, I was the photographer and
Mhm.
contributed. I photographer slash I guess content creator. I did TikTok, and then
Okay.
we had a video. We had 2 videographers. Um,
Mm.
so we had a fairly large team relative to some course who may just
Mhm.
have one person doing everything, which is
Right.
shout out to those people. That's really hard to do. Um,
Yes, that's
we
tough.
we had 5 dudes. So I'd say our schedule wasn't as tough, but it really allowed us to like focus on our craft and
Right.
kind of really create the best content that we possibly could. The fact that I only had to focus on photography, I felt like I just improved tenfold over that
You
summer.
got to do your specific
I
job,
got to
and
do
then it
my
just
thing.
added to the
Yeah.
success of everybody.
Right.
I like that.
So in a day as the photographer,
Mhm.
um, usually, let me think. TikTok wasn't really a part of my daily schedule because I would kind of like crank those out on or any random day I'd make like 5 of them
Right.
or whatever, and then we'd have like a
I
week's
feel like
worth.
that's gonna become a bigger thing this summer. Like, slowly the past couple summers, cores have been doing it. I think,
TikTok.
like, yeah, maybe I'm behind
Yeah,
on it and, like, not
Blue
following them,
Blue
but, like,
Stars Blue Stars set a new standard last summer, and it's
yeah.
gonna change the game for good. For
I'm
real.
excited. I wanna see some really, like, some meme shit posting TikToks on for these
Which, if you're
drum
not
cores, man.
following the Santa Clara Vanguard TikTok, please do.
You need to.
And I have to
It's
say
some
that.
good stuff, man. Like, it is seriously, like, hilarious. Like, every time I log into the Meet the Bus TikTok, and, like, I will see a SCV TikTok, and I watch through every single one when it comes up. It's fucking
Sweet.
hilarious.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that's my other gig at Vanguard. I do that, and I'm the photographer.
Nice.
Um, and that's been a cool thing because like I love video, but it's like
Mhm.
it is cool to focus on photography and then have like TikTok as my other thing, and then video is
Right.
kind of just like my hobby that I get to do when I want.
Mhm.
Sorry, I keep getting off topic, but in the day of a
I love
life,
it.
um, so let's see. I usually sleep through breakfast, because it's like
Hell yeah.
I'll
Because
just
you're
eat
on
a
staff.
dude. I stack up on protein bars or whatever,
Yeah.
and like I just eat that. Like
I'll be there for lunch.
I don't need to wake
I'm
up
on
early.
staff. Listen, you guys gotta
So
get up and do breakfast. I don't care.
yeah. So like midday is when I edit.
Yeah.
Just because this is for real, lighting wise, the midday is not the ideal time to be taking photos. You
Hmm.
get weird shadows, you get,
Interesting.
you don't want a light source directly above someone's head.
Right?
So that's where you get these like raccoon eyes, you get the shadows under the nose. And people are
Mhm.
usually squinting. It's not the
Yeah.
ideal time to be taking photos.
Me every fucking day.
So that's when I edit.
Mhm.
So I usually wake up and then finish editing the photos from the day before and
Mhm.
then have them out. My goal is always to have this is a personal thing. I try to have the photos out less than 24 hours after, just so it's still
Wow.
relevant and the members can
Yeah.
post them when it's still relevant.
Mhm.
Um, but so there's that. Like on a show day, um, it'd still be the same case. I'm usually like really hitting it hard during ensemble.
Mhm.
Everyone's together, so there's like less maneuvering around campus that I have to do. I
Yeah.
could just like, oh, I need shots of the guard, they're right there. So ensemble's
Yeah.
the best time for that. Um, but show days, the way we did it at BK was we had most of the time on tour it was myself and another videographer
Mhm.
um who would cover shows. So it was we would each get either guard or brass, and we would
Yeah.
switch off. Um, my expertise is color guard media, so
Yeah.
I was always dying for that. He really
That's
liked
nice you
hanging
got to
with the
stay in
brass.
that wheelhouse. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so that was kind of my focus most of the time. And then
Mhm.
usually the drum line was close enough that like they're a smaller group, so it's kind of easier to just walk over there, get a photo of like every guy in drumline and come back. Um,
Right.
but that was kind of our focus was like, hey, you've got brass for the warm up, you've got guard, and then we meet up at the show. Um,
Uh-huh.
DCI has some pretty tight regulations on media teams, which is a good thing
Mm.
because you don't want like photographers sprinting around on the field during a flow marching stream. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
super
because it's a
noticeable.
distraction to
Yeah. We
the
wear dark
broadcast.
clothes. We try to be subtle about it.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, usually the way we did it was there was two of us, so one of us gets side one gets side two, and
100%.
after the show, like we're typically done for the night. I would
Meet up, like
yeah,
SD cards, the whole
you
good
could
thing.
yeah, yeah. So that's when it's the time to like usually meet up with like other core media teams, things
Yeah.
like that. Um, and then after the show, once we departed, I would get on the bus and I would start editing the photos from the show.
Yeah.
So I
That's
would try to
sick.
have them done that night. But it's not the world's most difficult schedule, but it's something that like you do have to stay when you're on, you're on. You have to be as engaged as a performer during a show. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
You have because you want to get like the shots. You want to get those like for later when you're doing like you're putting this content
Yeah.
together and you're putting the action shots out that like when it goes out, they're like, oh, whoa, like what a shot, you know?
And it's true that people say like, is your job easier than the average tour job? And I'm gonna say yes, it is. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm.
So because, and here's why, during a rehearsal, if it's too hot, I could just go inside. Like,
I don't have to be
like
here.
I'm like, I could do something else right now. Or if it's raining, like I'm out. Um,
That's funny. Oh my
but
god.
no, if it's like midday, 110 degrees, like, what am I gonna accomplish by being out here? Like, I'm going in.
It's
So it's
hot,
like,
guys.
you guys got to stay out here and you got to teach the drum corps, but
Keep
like,
up that
I'm
good
going
work, man.
inside. So I have a lot of respect for the people who teach this activity. And I will say, like, yeah,
Hell
my
yeah.
job at a lot of times is, I have a little more perks sometimes than like maybe
Yeah.
another position in the jump corps. And that's something
But
I
you
have to
guys still
fully
like
acknowledge that.
yeah, still a very important part of the drum corps though. Like having that like you need that, especially in today's day and age. Like that's how we stay
Yeah.
tuned into
Our
what you guys
jobs,
are doing.
it's difficult in a different way because
Mhm.
we really have to be conscious of what's happening online.
Yeah.
Um, we are kind of responsible for the image of the entire organization.
Yep.
Um, there's a lot of meetings and discussing that people don't really know is happening. Like we've just got a group chat
Mm.
running 24/7 of like, hey, did you see this comment? Or did you see this was posted about us? But like
Really?
we're always keeping an eye on that stuff. Like if you've written a really
Mm.
nasty thing about a drum corps, their media team it's probably come up in a group chat. Um,
Wow.
so
It's
we're
cool.
always aware of that kind of thing.
Mm.
But yeah, we're kind of like, the ones monitoring how does our drum corps look online and how does this activity look in the public eye?
Absolutely.
That falls on our shoulders. That is a responsibility. It's something we don't take lightly. Like we want this
Absolutely.
activity to appear to be something that, people should want to be a
You
part of.
want to do like you want to come out and
Right,
do this
right.
thing. Mhm.
So like
I was
physically
curious.
it's no, I was saying physically less demanding, but there are parts of it that are difficult that people just don't
There's still
necessarily
a big
see.
responsibility,
Yeah.
like, I
It
mean, so
yes.
many people are online now more than ever, so, like, they're looking at during the summer, if you're a drum corps fan, like, you're trying to see, like, updates on social media from all these groups, you wanna see what's happening throughout the
Right.
week, not just, like, the big shows, like, you wanna see, the action shots, the updates, just something cool, like, and when there's that cool video, like, Blue Coats on that like, everybody's sharing it because 'cause they're like, "Dude, did you see the post? Oh my
Right.
god," and it's like, "Well, that's the coolest corps ever, let's go there," and it's just like, "Let's check it," so it's still really huge part and I like that you're just going in depth with everything because I want to be able to like show people because for me too this is something like I didn't know what happens behind the
Mhm.
scenes or what kind of goes into all of this especially through the thought process of it and something I was curious about kind of specifically I don't know if you had a like hand in this being on the team but like the behind the blue series did you kind of have like a hand in helping out with that or are you more on just the photography side?
I had absolutely nothing to do with Behind the Blue. That was a guy named
Oh,
Jared Draney, and he was the
word.
videographer, and that is what he did. We would give each other feedback on things.
Uh-huh.
It's always like if you do something, you're gonna show the media team and be like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this? Can I get your
Right.
input?" But we very much like to give people artistic freedom. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like you do this, you figure it out. You do this, you figure it out, and that's the way we like it.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it is kind of like this some upcoming summer at Vanguard, I'm the photographer. There may be days where we trade, like
Right.
just to, try something new, but typically you are focused on that role.
Mhm. Did he do
So
the,
behind
Echoes of Summer video too at the end for you
no.
guys?
Okay. So that was a guy named
Who
Davis.
did that? Because that shit'll make
Yes.
me cry, dude. I'll watch it
It's
right now, start
one of
tearing
my
up.
favorite drum corps videos ever. That was a guy named Davis DeWitt.
Wow.
He was our videographer in July. So he
Hmm.
was only on for part of tour. He joined us in California. He's dude who works on movies out in LA. I think I mentioned him to you earlier. Um,
Uh-huh.
Worked on Mulan, worked on Yellowstone, stuff like that. Like big name things that you've probably seen or heard of. But
Crazy.
dude's never marched in his life and loves hopping on tour to um, document this activity because he thinks it's super neat.
Yeah,
We're super lucky to have him at Blue Knights. The dude is mad
absolutely.
talented. Um, so
Video was amazing. It was beautiful.
I love that video. We showed it at our banquet. Um, but it's so funny that that video was created by someone who never even did marching band in high school, never played an instrument. He just that was what he kind of described it as like to him that was his view of what made this activity special.
And he captured
Es-
it perfectly, like the
Especially as
emotion of
yeah,
what it is.
especially as someone who never performed, like those were the moments that stuck out to him. And so it was a
Yeah.
really interesting perspective on drum corps. I'm
From an
glad you mentioned that
outsider.
video because I love that video.
And it's just like it's all about like the people. And he captured
Hmm.
that. And it was just like, like literally first 15 seconds, I'm watching again last night and it's literally the lump in my throat's coming in. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
I can't do it. I gotta walk away. I gotta walk away because it's so good, man. And it's just like stuff like this. I always get so curious because, like, for this podcast, for example, like, it's gonna take a couple hours to turn around and get that kind of back out
hmm
and, produce and published and whatnot. So I was so curious for stuff, especially like that. Just like, how long does it kind of take to put all that together? Um, just because this the series in general are becoming so much more elaborate nowadays, especially like
hmm
stuff like SEV did in 22. Like that series, I got so into it, like reality TV. Like now I got into it so much and they did such a good job with that series. And I hope you guys might bring it back this summer. But it was just so much fun where I was just like, dude, I'm rooting for SEV so hard this next summer to just like have the best comeback of all time.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
The From the Field, I don't necessarily know if that's what it'll be called, but we'll continue
Okay.
that style of storytelling for sure. Um,
Yes.
this is our
Love that.
chance, kind of as a media team, to establish after a year off, like,
Yeah.
do we want to change the branding of Vanguard? Do we want to change how we look? So there's no guarantees yet. Like this is still something we might experiment with, but
Cooking with some
absolute one,
ideas.
yeah, 100%. We're still going to be doing very similar because this is the same guy. So the guy
Mm-hmm.
that was there in 22 is back again. The guy making the video, same guy, super
Mm-hmm.
talented. His name's Mark Quinones. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm guarantee you will see some cool video stuff from him this summer.
That is sweet. I wanted to ask a couple questions. I talked to good old friend of mine, Christina Stevens. Shout out to her. She's amazing. I hit her up actually before this interview because I was just like, hey, I'm dumb and I don't know anything about the media world, but you do. And I was just like, what are some good things that we could cover to give these media people like a platform just to like talk about what you guys do for the community? And she kind of gave me some specific stories you guys like had last year. I was like, what's
Mhm.
some fun stuff we could bring up in the podcast? And she was like, there was some backlash from Reddit last year about your guys' uniform reveal. She told me that
Yes.
people were claiming you guys had spent thousands of dollars on like a
Yeah.
huge production
Oh my
for this
gosh.
whole uniform video when it was just like you, her, and like she said Jared, I believe. And it
Jared
was
was
just
the
like the three.
videographer.
It's just the three of
Yeah.
you just doing this whole thing. So I was curious from you, do you take that almost like when you see this stuff and you hear about it, do you ever take it as like a compliment of your work, or are you just like, why would they say this
I
shit?
almost made that my cover photo. So, no, I remember that very clearly. That was such an interesting day because that was the first time we kind of like put Blue Knights out there for the season.
Yeah.
Um, I do remember the specific comment on Reddit was it was someone claiming that part of the reason why drum corps were having spending issues was they were spending money on things like that. And I remember the Cavaliers media team actually came to our defense and was like,
Yeah.
"Here's why you're wrong," which is super cool. I'm glad we have that relationship with other media
Yeah.
teams, but they're the ones who stepped in because, like, we're not gonna. It looks stupid when you're like, "No, man, you're
No,
wrong,"
I
and
swear we
you,
did it.
I swear. And so it was like cool that another drum corps came in and was like, "Hey, man, like, no."
There's no
Person
way.
claiming, oh gosh, that we had spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. It was
Wow.
a high school theater, like a high school stage in a dimly lit theater in Adams City
Yeah.
High School in Denver, Colorado.
Dude,
Um,
Adam
our
City, man. Oh my
our
god.
lighting, but yeah, you remember our lighting budget
Uh,
was exactly $0. We borrowed lights from a volunteer, um, and they were like they weren't super. It was lights that she had gotten from Amazon, like very hastily. They weren't like incredible lighting or anything.
yeah.
Um, but we're super thankful for that. That we had volunteers, willing to help out with media, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Um, no, it was Jared, his camera, some lights, and then our program coordinator Pyro Allen kind of
Mhm.
helped out with some choreography. And then Jared edited all that day on his laptop. So
Yeah.
no, the budget for that was not anything.
Just 3
There was
guys.
it
It's just
was
3
yeah.
guys, everybody. 3 people.
And honestly, for
3
that
people
video,
just make it happen.
Christina and I just kind of sat there. Like that was I credit to Jared for that video. That was the thing where we're like, "Yo, if you've got a plan, we trust you. Like, go for it."
Yeah, 100%. It's just so silly that that's even a thing of just like, "Oh, I bet like, really you're gonna spend thousands of dollars for the uniform reveal? Like, what?
I I
how?"
think those comments are so funny. Like, I used to get irritated by stuff like that online, and now
Yeah.
it's like, you know what?
Now you take it it's like,
If I got haters, like I must be doing something right. You know what I
honestly,
mean?
like, thank you guys for thinking that took thousands of dollars. Thank
Yeah,
you. Wow.
yeah.
Like, that's more
Huge
incredible than,
compliment. Huge
like yeah,
compliment.
honestly, I'm taking that as a compliment. She told me about a couple other little stories, so I have to ask you, did you leave your camera gear at the housing site
Come
before the Rose
on.
Bowl show?
Come on. Why'd
Yo,
she say
shout out
that?
Christina Stevens, dude.
I'm gonna text her right after this.
She said, you can bring that up. She said you could bring that up.
She would. Okay, so if anyone's listening, Christina Stevens was the social media coordinator at Blue Knights last
Yes.
summer.
Yeah.
She's super talented at what she does. She's one of my best
Awesome.
friends, and she's the social media coordinator or one of the marketing coordinators for Music for All, who
Music for
runs
all.
BOA.
Hmm.
So she's doing great for herself.
Yes.
She's at Cavaliers this upcoming summer.
Yeah.
So expect some really neat stuff from Cavaliers.
Hmm.
Yes. So I'm guessing
They
she
had a
told you
really cool
that.
video, by the way. Like, little side note, I think them and Phantom doing their little
Oh my
like
gosh.
fundraiser thing.
Yeah.
That was
I
sick.
Robert Cawthorn made that. He is the media coordinator at Phantom.
Shout
Really cool
out.
stuff. I actually texted him yesterday and was like, "This is sick."
This is really good. Like, I watched, I was like,
um,
"Ooh,
yeah.
fire."
So, but there again is the thing of like we all know each other. Any of these videos you bring up, I'm
Mm.
gonna be like, "Yes, I know that person. I've talked to him about it."
We shout
Like
them out, man. We
we
shout
all
them out. Let them
we do.
know.
I love giving
Hmm.
credit for that stuff. So
Love it.
yes, I didn't have my camera somehow. I don't remember what happened, if it was hot or whatever, or I was
Hmm.
tired. But instead of putting my camera back in my camera bag and then taking it to the bus, I just walked to the bus with my camera, set it down on my bed, and we left. Like, as I don't know what happened, but like the only thing I lost was all of my, well, I lost all my extra SD cards, which didn't have anything on them. I lost all of my camera batteries, so I had one battery,
No.
just the battery in the camera. Um,
Oh.
and then I think I lost the like wireless receiver for my flash so that I could have the flash like hold it away from the camera.
Oh my
Um,
god.
luckily I don't think I lost anything too expensive, but yeah,
When did you
um
kind of find out that you were like, "Oh shit"?
like we got to the show and I realized that it wasn't there.
So like tapping the pockets, you're like,
I called
"No."
the school. Yeah, I called the school. I went around and bugged all the students about like, hey, did you see this? Nobody had seen it. Um, never saw that thing again. And honestly, when we
Yeah.
go to the LA show this summer, I'm gonna go see if it's still there. you know,
I'm gonna go find it and get it
because I
back.
had to go buy a new backpack. It's super obnoxious. Yeah, it's so hard
That is
not to
too
lose
good,
things on
man.
tour.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that
Um,
is like, you are going to lose something on tour.
yeah, one of our
Always. You will
guys,
lose something.
Davis DeWitt, who made that Echoes of Summer video,
Yeah.
there was the summer he set his camera lens on the counter of the bus, and then we
Mhm.
didn't know the driver was in the driver's seat and he was moving it, like parking it. So it took off, the lens went flying. Like
Oh, no.
unfortunately, drum course really rough on media stuff
Man.
or just things in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Couple little things here, just talking about the media world, and I know we're getting to 2 hours here. Kind
Oh,
of
you're good.
wrap us out. I know
Totally
you're a
fine.
busy man, but you got a TikTok with Dan Atchison? Is that
Mhm.
a thing? I heard
Yeah.
that you got a what? How did that happen? What's the situation? How did you get that? How did this opportunity happen?
So Dan was at the Drums Across the Rocky show, which
Yeah,
I believe used to be at Weber State. It was at Colorado State this past summer.
yeah,
Absolute blast of a show. I love that show. Um, but oh, here's what we were doing. So I had a disposable camera. And we were making a TikTok where
yeah.
Christina recorded me with a disposable camera, and it was this caption that was like, "We found this dude on eBay. He claims to be the best photographer at DCI," and it was a video of me like taking photos with a disposable camera. But we thought it'd be funny if we went to like the very top of Colorado State Stadium, like used the
Yeah.
elevator, went up there, and had photos of me taking like clearly from as far away as you could possibly be from the stadium. But we go all the way up there, and Dan Atchison is there. And so we're
Yeah.
like, wait, this is our chance.
We have
So
to.
no planning or anything. We honestly, I wish I'd had a little more planning. We were just rushed into it. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got him to I think I went up to him and I was like, um, I think I said for $1, name a drum corps. And he goes, the Blue Knights. And that was it. He was a super cool guy. Like the fact that he
Go.
was willing to do that. Um,
That's really cool.
yeah, that was fun. That was a fun day.
That is super sick. So in 2023, you guys get to watch BK like make its little comeback back into finals. What was that like for you getting to kind of watch that? Because for me, being an little alumni, like that was the coolest thing to keep seeing them like fighting on that bubble right outside the top 12, and then to see them semifinals like punch through and like make their way into finals. That was super cool for me. What was that like being there in Indy, like watching that moment?
Yeah. So as a media team staff member, I try not to get too invested in the scores because
Right.
I have to
Yeah.
do my job regardless of whether the jump core does good or bad. I
Hmm.
can't be like, man, we lost
Hey, you
drums
guys
last.
didn't make it.
Yeah. Hey, we lost drums last night, so
No pictures today.
I'm just not in the mood. You know what I mean? Like, can't do that.
Yeah,
That is
100%.
completely unprofessional behavior from a staff member.
Right.
I can't stand that. So, I try not to get too invested in it. But
Yeah.
I will say, it was a bummer when Blue Knights had most previously done very well in 2019.
Yeah.
In 23, we were doing better, and we were expecting to at least be in the top 12. So over the summer, we
Yeah.
weren't quite there. It was kind of a punch in the face for a while.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like around a little bit after Allentown,
Mhm.
um, which one thing is what's cool about Jump Core is Crossman and Pacific Crest were right on us all summer.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and things like that drive us to be better.
Mhm.
Which was, that was kind of the moment where we were like, yo, we got to try harder.
Yeah.
And so after Allentown, it was like, hey, at this rate, we're not going to make finals. Like, this is going to be a second year in a row of Blue Knights falling out of the top 12 for a jump core that historically has almost always been in the top 12
Like
for
top 8.
recent memory.
Yeah.
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 And we really that last week, like those kids worked their butts off.
Yeah.
And it was, it's things like that. That's like the competitive part is like what drives a lot of people. So it was cool to see that jump core just like take new shape in that last week.
That's
Um,
really cool. Just seeing
yeah,
them like in 1 week, just like turning the dial. Like, is at that
yep,
point you kind of have everything set in of what it's gonna be. Like, this is finals week. We're just polishing, making it look nice and pretty. Like, but to watch, that's what I'm so curious because it's like watching them turn that last dial just
hmm
all the way to like 110. Just watching them go all the way out and then watch that like pay off competitively. Like, I can't even imagine like the elation from everybody just being like, yo,
yeah.
we were not supposed to be in this spot, but for us doing all of this work for us getting to this moment and seeing the payoff happen, like that's got to be super cool.
Our prelims performance was a little shaky.
Hmm.
And semis, they go out there, they perform. I remember specifically Christina and I look at each other and we're like, I think we're making finals. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And it was best performance of the season. Like, we saved it for now. Finals performance is another story, but the semifinals performance was the best performance of the story of the
Yeah.
season. We wake up finals morning. This was my first time ever waking up on finals morning. Like, I never worked for or marched a drum corps that made finals before.
Yeah.
And it was really odd being like, yo, there are only 12 drum corps rehearsing today, and
Yeah.
we're one of them. And that's really unique to us. Really neat.
Hmm.
And I remember the brass caption had pulls in the entire drum corps, everyone. And he says, I'll never forget this. He goes, you know, the best thing about 12th place? You got nothing to lose.
Yes.
And
We are the
so,
first on. We make the first statement of the
yup.
night.
So we go in Lucas Oil. We we put on a show. Was
Kick
it as clean
ass.
as the night before? Hell no. But was it awesome? Yes.
The finals runs are never
It's like,
clean, guys. I just have
yo,
to let you know,
who cares?
semifinals is always going to be the cleanest run of the
Yep,
year.
it's true. It's
Technically
true.
clean. Finals is all emotion, dude. There's nothing to lose. It's
Finals is
all
I'm
emotion.
gonna remember that one. It's like, I don't remember much about that show, but I remember the way
Just the
that
feeling.
the members
Everybody.
felt afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was what made it special.
That's what it's all
You
about. And
know,
that's super cool. I love that.
and you know what? Some fun media team related is that night, um, the media teams. I'm friends with the person who ran the media for Crossman last summer.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I recall, like, Crossman and Blue Knights were kind of the story at the bottom of the pack that summer
Mhm.
of who's going to make it.
Yeah.
And Blue Knights knocked Crossman out of finals. And
Yeah.
that night, like, I meet up with the Crossman photographer. It doesn't even come up.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool.
we don't care. It's like,
Like,
it's
yo,
cool, but
congrats on
like,
a good
that's not why
season.
we're here. Like, yeah, like, we had fun. We had a great summer. Like, that's what, we don't hold that against. It's just not something that
Yeah,
necessarily comes
and
up in
that's
the
the
media
thing too,
world.
because like even like that's why the competitive part is just like whatever. Like you'll never remember the scores or anything like that because it's
Right.
just like that.
Right.
Like after you're done with a season, you're so like you're thinking about everything else but what
Right.
just happened in the score. Maybe if you're top three, you might think about it, but like
Mhm.
everybody else is like, I just had one of the coolest summers of my entire life. Say
Yeah.
bye to everybody and just say, hey man, what a hell of a season we just had. You
And
know?
as a staff member, I remember thinking, and as a former educator, or I
Yeah,
guess I still teach marching band here and there. I
yeah.
remember feeling really, you know, the Crossmen were in an unfortunate situation that summer. I remember thinking a lot about that, which was, what if that had been us? It very well could have
Hmm.
been us. Their
Yeah,
season ended a day earlier than they were expecting it to, and I really hope that those members still were able to have a positive end of their season, because I've been in that
yeah,
situation so many times.
yeah.
And that's, you
Absolutely.
still you want to make finals, but
It's sad,
it's
but you hope that they had a good
right.
season to where
You
it's like,
do. It's all
damn.
band kids. Like, you hope, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. My last little thing here, I kind of want to ask about like just for the media portion, and I kind of want to ask a couple like reflection questions just about drum corps in
Mhm.
general. But my last little media question here is, what is something about the media team experience that kind of gets underlooked by like the casual fan or the public in DCI?
Let me
Might
think
be a
about that one
tough
for a second.
question, but I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
As someone who hasn't been, I guess, part of the public when there were media teams, I got to think about that one. I'm
Mhm.
trying, I see things exclusively from the media perspective.
I guess it
Um,
helps from the outside because for me, like, I don't know, like, I've kind of been taking the time to just ask, like, what's a
mhm.
part of a day? What kind of goes into all of this
Yeah.
stuff? But outside of like your day to day kind of life, the maybe like the factors that you guys kind of have to deal with as a media team. You're talking
Yeah.
earlier about how it's just like, you know, drum corps kind of it's tough on the media team. So that's
Mhm.
why I was just like, what are some things that us maybe we take for granted or we don't see it happen?
I'd say there are a few things. Some smaller ones is like, one, the media team has nice gear. They have to pay for that themselves. The drum corps
Wow.
is not buying the gear.
I didn't know that. Like, that's crazy.
Right. So, like, if I bring my video camera, it's mine. You know what I mean? I brought it from
Wow.
home. If it breaks, I'm out of luck. Now, luckily, like Blue Knights, Santa Clara Vanguard, they have backup cameras. They got backup lenses. But sorry, that's like a worst
You're
case
good.
scenario.
Yeah.
um, you want to use your own gear. You're also more familiar
Mhm.
with it.
Yeah.
Another thing I think people may not realize with photography, and this is just like across the board in all of photography, is how much editing goes into taking professional photos.
Mm.
Um, and when you take photos on like a modern day expensive camera, it's how do I explain this? It's getting about half the information of that photo, and you're kind of filling in the rest using Photoshop, Adobe Lightroom, software like that. But like
Mm.
essentially any photo, like let's say you see a photo of a Phantom Regiment, and you're like, man, those colors are really crazy. Like the sky, the colors are just popping. Like somebody
Yeah.
sat there and painstakingly edited all of that. It's not
Yeah.
lying. It's just kind of like an artsier way of looking at photography.
Ah.
And this is, an drum corps is an artsy activity, so we really like
Mhm.
to have
Come
um,
out. Yeah.
the artsy side of things come out. So just
Yeah.
know that like when you're seeing these photos and videos, like especially you mentioned with the blue coats, like the editing that goes into that. I remember specifically over the summer, everyone else was asleep. I remember waking up. One of our video guys, Davis DeWitt, was awake, probably 4 in the morning, awake on his MacBook, hunched over in the corner, still trying to finish that Echoes of Summer
Just
video,
going hard.
just going at it. So, like, I don't know if people necessarily knows how much time goes in on the computer with those
Mhm.
things, fixing everything, and like, you can't post, you know, sweaty photos of kids on Facebook. As true as that is, it's a little odd. So like
Yeah.
there's just so much that goes into like making photos social media ready. Um
Yes.
again, it's
Yeah.
not lying or deceiving. It's marketing.
Yeah.
And that's the way the game is played.
100% the
But that's a
strategic.
big part of it.
Yeah.
But the biggest
Absolutely.
thing of media teams that I want to hit, and I've hit a few times, is truly the collaboration. Like you mentioned Christina, um, such a blast to work with. Like such a
Mhm.
highlight of my summer was collaborating with her.
Yeah.
She has such a unique perspective on this, and that's really why I love this activity so much. It's so much more fun to be on a media team rather than be the media guy. Um,
Yeah. That's
just
interesting. Yeah.
collaborating with other people, especially in the video world where like we're editing and we can throw ideas off each other and we can maybe like, hey, did you get a shot of this? Like, could I throw that in my video? And it's always hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't know if people realize how closely the media team is working together.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything that goes out, probably every person on that team has at least had a say in it.
Right, whether it's cool or what's
Yeah.
not, or you could do this or maybe add this
Yeah.
or something.
So it's like
Mhm.
maybe, oh, this is Davis's video, but like probably everyone on the team saw it and was like, hey, maybe you could try it this way, or you could, on the media team, you got to get really good at politely saying you don't like something. That's
It's like, I love what you're doing, but how many of
yes.
those get
You gotta get really good at that because people are gonna ask, and if they're asking you, they want your honest opinion. You
They
can't
wanna
just be like,
know.
"This sucks," because then you're just a jerk. So,
You can't say it's great every time
right,
either if it's and then you're just like, "That's
right,
kinda
right, right, right.
fun."
No, if we're asking, it's like we want to know, and
We need
we
the truth
trust each
here.
other. Yeah.
100%. 100%. That is super cool. I'm curious, just a couple like reflection questions here about drum corps itself. One, kind of looking forward almost. What has you most excited for the comeback of Santa Clara Vanguard this summer?
So me personally, for what I'm doing, I'm super excited to tell that story.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a really unique position as the photographer, and when I was looking for positions, I knew that this was the drum corps I was aiming for.
Yeah.
I thought this was a unique situation. I kind of wanted to be like help, our media team be like a light in the darkness of like this was not the greatest situation. It was an unfortunate thing that happened. How can we get past it and make this summer, have let the members still go online and see that people are speaking positively about Santa Clara Vanguard and seeing photos of themselves that make them look like rock stars and videos that make the
Yeah.
organization look awesome. Like,
Yeah.
how can we still give them that experience and kind of not make the whole focus of the summer be like, those are the guys that couldn't field a drum corps last summer, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and I totally understand why that perspective comes into play. But like, I guess what I would ask is people give Vanguard a chance. Um,
100%.
because a lot of work has gone in the admin team. So much work has gone into fielding the drum corps. There are so many people passionate about the day
Mhm.
that news came out. People said, I will not rest until the drum corps is back. Um, there's a
And it's
whole
not
team
like
that
it's not as simple as like, "Oh, hey guys, we're gonna take off this summer, but we'll probably make
right.
it happen next summer." It's like we're taking off
Such a
this
hard
summer, but
decision.
we don't know when this thing could like come back
Yeah.
and like field again. Kind of a good example right now is the Cadets. It's where like, we had an episode, we literally recorded an episode, I think it was like 7 or 8, and we had literally just found out the news as we were like hopping on to record an episode. Like
Mhm.
it was just like, oh my god, Cadets folded the season. Okay, well they folded the season, and it's something like that where you're just like, hey, we have to close up shop for now, and we don't know. We I didn't know. Like so many cores have now since COVID, like we can take the year off but come back the next year. But it's not that easy. It seems
Mhm.
that easy to the outside public, but there's so much behind the scenes work and planning that has to happen in advance for these things to work out.
Mhm.
Like Cadets, we were literally, it was like November, I think, or something like that. We were just starting to record an episode, and it's like, guys, Cadets just folded for the season. Like they just closed up shop just for the season. But like, I think we should talk about this. And it was one of
Mhm.
those things. And we've kind of talked about it of like, who knows what's going to happen. And now they filed for bankruptcy as we recorded. I think the news came out. We were
Yeah.
recording on a Friday, and I think this news came out on
Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday, and in this news it just come out, and now this storied activity, or this storied core, this group that has built up Drum Corps International, is now, it's folded for good, and it
Mhm.
won't be so like it's not as easy as you think. It's just like, oh well, they can take the summer off and they'll be back. Like
Right.
it's really scary to see cores be like, we have to take this
Yeah.
summer off because of the model of how this drum corps activity works. The cores and the groups and the people that work here need the tour to happen so that it's just it's so much more. And and I've been learning that through this podcast. I kind of already had an idea, but just to hear from the people who are behind the scenes doing all of this, like so much goes into this more than the outside public thinks. And I think I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit because I saw you post the other day something really great on your story. A lot of people online love to hop on a situation right away, kind of like Cadets, and give their opinion as to why, like, they're like, what they could have done better. Oh, it's so and so's fault. They could have done this. They should have done this kind of thing. And you had something really great where it was just like, can you think about the people and the alumni who had marched that core before? Do you kind of want to like give like your kind of platform on that? If you want to, you can. I know you're
Yeah.
with a group this summer, that so that can be
Oh, yeah,
difficult.
no, no, no.
But I just think what you had said was so good. And I think it's something where people are, I think it's just the nature of online where so many people, they see something, they feel they need to react and put their opinion out there. They want it to be out there to be important. And I think you were just like, can you just like, before you get to the keyboard, before you start pressing post, like
Mhm.
think about all of these different things. Do you kind of want to like, talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so, absolutely. Um, Vanguard went through, obviously, a similar situation this summer before,
Mhm.
which is that, members and alumni who were expecting to see Vanguard on the field were not able to.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to grieve that process naturally, they were subject to a lot of harassment online, um, seeing just constant negativity surrounding the situation, which I'll say I understand. I do get why it's frustrating, and it sucks to
Yeah.
feel like, you know, as a fan of the activity, it is sad to see a core like Santa Clara Vanguard go under because it's such a staple in, something we don't take lightly. That Vanguard
Yeah.
is a very storied drum corps that's been around since the 60s, um, and has been in finals ever since.
Yeah.
It's not something anyone takes lightly on how it affects the activity and how it
Mhm.
looks, because people are, oh, this is the downfall of the activity. This is it. And but the success story is Vanguard's back and we're fine. Like Vanguard's going to be fine. Vanguard's going to field a show this summer. And if you are going to a show that Santa Clara Vanguard is scheduled to perform at, you will see Santa Clara Vanguard.
Buy some
But
SCV merch. Buy
right,
merch
right,
because
right, right,
they like, not only do they need it, but just celebrate the fact that they were able to do it in a year and feel the core again immediately. That's just
right.
me.
And
But
so the Vanguard membership very much feels for the cadets membership and the staff and the alums who, regardless of the circumstances, because to the members, they're not just sitting around wondering, what could we have done differently? They're grieving the loss of something that was very important to them.
yeah.
And so I feel that unless you have unless you have a hand in what happened or what's going to happen, maybe be careful of the fact that, for example, Vanguard has 165 members. And every one of them has access to social media. They're not celebrities who have, necessarily thick armor that shields them from everything said about them online. These are
Yeah.
kids who can see what you're writing about them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and shitting on the youth of the youth activity is just such an unprofessional, embarrassing behavior.
Yeah.
It's something I'm very passionate about. I think it is just completely awful to go
It's
pointing
weird.
fingers and, like
Like grown adults going at it like a
grown
group of
adults
like
just
youth.
crapping on these kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But truly, the Vanguard kids last summer went through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
because it became, understandably, from the outsider perspective. I try to think of it, but it became a bit of a meme that Vanguard
Mm-hmm.
had folded. Vanguard is dead. Or what are your predictions for the summer? Oh well, maybe Vanguard's gonna win. And like
Yeah.
those jokes are maybe funny if you're like 17 years old and have never marched drum corps before. But if
Right.
you're aware of
Yeah.
like the family aspect, I'm looking out for the members when I say this. Like, I can take it. I'm 28 years old. But like we got
Right.
16-year-olds who don't need to be harassed for something that had nothing to do with them and they're very loosely
Yeah.
associated with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um so it's unfortunate to see, like, for example, maybe Flow Marching will post a video of Cadets 2011 and be like,
Yeah.
for Holy Name Shall Always Be, and the comments are like, good riddance. Well, there are people who march that show who hold that very near and dear, and alums, and like, what do they have to do with the situation? Absolutely nothing.
Right.
It's just
And
be
it's just
careful of,
it's so weird
yeah,
because it's like,
be
why are you taking the time out of your day to go comment on a
right.
to like spread hate like that? It's just
Yeah,
very
you can
weird
be
activity.
frustrated with the situation, and there's a difference between like playful trash talk and just being a dick. Um,
Yeah.
And I think that like the playful, like competitive nature of like, hey, our jump corps is gonna be like on fire this summer, like look out type of
Everyone
thing.
says look out.
Great.
So I'm like,
Right,
yeah,
right. They
sure.
all say look out, watch out this summer. They all say that. Totally, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Great. Um, but you gotta be excited for what you're doing.
Yeah.
But just, I think if you're gonna criticize the situation, um, just be weary of who you're criticizing. Like, are you criticizing the idea of Santa Clara Vanguard and everyone who has ever stood for it, or are you criticizing the exact situation? Because like talking about how the cadets suck and you hate them and you're glad they're gone, like
You don't
that, it's
mean
just
that.
not. It's very unnecessary. It's
You just
just
don't mean
it's
that.
like you
You
gotta
just don't.
think. You gotta think before you write things like that.
Yeah, and it always
Um,
goes back to like, guys, this is banned.
it's
Seriously,
just
like
banned. It's
this is
just
still
banned.
banned, even though we've gotten to a larger scale of coverage and marketing and all of this great stuff, which is great. The activity needs it so we can keep making money. We can get some sponsors so that all the kids can have Adidas striped pants. We need that. We
Yes.
absolutely need that. But it's just like, you know, it is banned still at the end of the day,
Right.
and these are still kids. And I just bring this up because like I've watched this myself. I've watched my own core fold on a day after high school.
Yeah.
Like I came home
Yeah.
my senior year from high school and it was a random Tuesday or Wednesday during the week and OC folded. And it wasn't like I got the news about it, by the way. Like I was
Right.
still active marching in the community. I've talked about it on this podcast where I've been like, listen, regardless, and after 18, like I was wanting to leave and go to a new spot anyway. I had marched at OC for 3 years. I wanted to
Yeah.
do something else, regardless, but still when that is your home and that is the place where you have grown up at and you have this is your identity, this is who you're a part of, you're a part of this organization and its history. And my brother had the same thing. He marched Pioneer his first 2 years.
Yeah.
That core folded up, and
Yeah.
like same thing where it was just kind of like for me, it was just wild because I had just marched 3 years, and then all of a sudden, like just on a random Tuesday or Wednesday, I have to find out on Facebook when my staff, we aren't even told that the thing is folding. We're
Hmm.
literally just seeing every staff member going, I'm resigning. I'm resigning. I'm resigning.
Gosh.
I like in every
Yeah.
caption head to tech. And so all the members are going to group chats being like, what's happening? What's going on with everything? So we're having to like text through chats and connect to other captions and be like, do you guys know what's going on? Like some people wanted to come back for OC19. Like a lot of people did because 18 was like, it was fun. There were some factors that worked against us, but overall, that was fun. And it was just like to see all that happen live. You're just like, I've been in the member shoes of a core folding, of my core
Mhm.
folding, and I remember what that was like, just furiously like texting everybody, like, what is happening? What is going on? Like, are we folding? Our staff's all leaving. Is there like, I know I'm moving, but like, what's happening? And then it
Right.
just like folds up. And then like now, like DCI Online has gotten rid of like all the archives of the Oregon Crusaders. Like you can't find us on leaderboards. You can't like anywhere. There's no information about it. So as a member of a core whose core is folded, like I very much am just like when those things happen for me, like when this happened this week, it took like a moment to just be like,
Right.
I can't believe this. Like I don't think people understand how huge of a deal that is for a core to just fold up and just be like, we're done. That takes so much to get to that point. It's not just like they're just like, oh, we're filing for bankruptcy. It's like, no, it takes so much and there's so much fight. They don't want to make that decision. So for
Mhm.
you to then go online and just shit all over them, no
Yeah.
one wants to make that decision. No one wants to
No.
pull the plug. So for you to go online and then just continuously bash a group, it's just like you have no idea what the kids are going through that day. Like some people wanted to go back there and call that home forever. So that's why like
Mhm.
I saw you post about that and I was like, you said it in a way where it wasn't like it was the perfect balance of just like you weren't telling people to just like stop giving out your opinion, but it was like
Right, right, right.
if you are if you're gonna do
Just
this and
say
post
think before
online,
you post. Just think before you post.
think about it. Just think about it.
Yeah.
It's like you would say duh normally, but some people are now just are so quick to react and wanting to get their opinion about what they thought happened and why things ended and whose fault it is. And it's like it's such a tough decision. Like
It's just
how
it
can
can't be undone, so like there's nothing we can do.
yeah.
There are things you can do to support drum corps that are still
Hmm.
there though. And
Yeah.
the other thing is I want people to have as much support for open class course as they do for top 12 course. Um, as someone who's on staff
We've
for a
talked
drum
about open
corps,
class and how we
yeah,
can like make more coverage for
yeah,
that on this show. We've
right,
talked
right,
about it.
right. As
Yeah.
someone who works for a drum corps that won as recently as 2018 and is
Yeah.
typically in the top 5, I I want I want people to, you know, have as much of a hey, we should, figure this out with like as bottom as you can go in the score range of open class, just as much as they care about a top 5 drum corps folding.
Yeah.
Those things are equally important. I think Southwind and Legends and Shadow closed up shop within the past year, and I think those deserve just as much attention.
Those are
Because
huge. That's
yeah,
really scary
you
because
know,
for the younger kids who are coming up trying to find a home to start out at, you know?
yeah, maybe in the grand scheme of things, like Vanguard was the bigger story, but to those people, that was their home.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that you can't only support. You can't only go to a show because there are top 5 drum corps there.
Mhm.
There are open class shows out there. There's open class finals. If you like watching drum corps, you will enjoy watching drum corps regardless of
Who it is and what
how
level.
experienced they are or like how difficult the music is. Like
Yep.
I remember seeing in 2018 Legends did the show. I think it was called Along Came a Spider. I freaking
I mean,
love that
Spartan
show.
show in 2019 was
Yeah.
badass.
Exactly.
Yes.
People are you're really if you just show up to watch like Blue Coats and BD and Santa Clara Vanguard, you're really missing out on some really neat stuff.
Yeah. 100%. I absolutely agree. Get out to some shows, support
Yeah.
the people this summer, buy some merch, buy some merch. Buy the merch. Okay, my last couple questions here, I kind of want to round out. Um, what has been these are kind of some fun questions, and
Okay.
then my last one's a little serious. But what has been your favorite free day? Maybe as a performing member and a staff member. Maybe give kind of both. I mean, I know on media team you said your schedule's kind of like you can kind of work around
Mhm.
whatever, but maybe just like for both of those, like what favorite free day as a member and being on the media team so far.
Okay. I think my favorite free day was the San Antonio free day in 2017. Hung
Classic.
out with the Colts trumpet section. We went to a grocery store. We did all sorts of stuff, stupid stuff. That's like, man,
Highlight.
just some like real life stuff that you've missed doing.
Yeah.
The river walk is really neat.
Mhm.
Um, as a staff member, we had a really cool opportunity in we had one of the Denver free days. And so the media team actually rented a car, or sorry, rented an SUV, and we went off-roading. Like we we went
Dude,
out.
that's sick.
Yeah, we took some of the percussion staff. We got all sorts of photos and videos of mountains and things like that. We did like we all
Wow.
took photos of each other, just to say we
Yeah.
did it. But that was a really cool opportunity. San Antonio is always cool. That's a big one for media teams.
Yeah.
There's always a media team meetup on the San Antonio Free Day.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that was such a fun, unique one. Was like we were like, yo, what if we like did something that you typically don't do in a free day? Like, what if we went off roading? And we
Yeah, like
did.
let's just
It's
like not
awesome.
stay in the area. Let's go out. Let's see what's
Yeah,
just here in
super
general.
cool. See what's up in Colorado. Like, yeah,
That's cool. Off-roading in Colorado. Ooh,
yeah.
that's fire.
It's something
That's
I do all
fire.
the time. So I was like, I will show you guys,
The
kind of how this
ways.
works. Yeah.
That's super cool. That is awesome. My next question here is right now we like I kind of talked about earlier. It feels like there's these like 4-year era pockets within drum corps, like 2012 to 2016, 16 to COVID basically. Now we're kind of entering this new era where the design of shows, every single thing about the skill level, the design, everything about shows nowadays, including the media teams, everything is just taking this big step up. I'm curious to know from you now getting back in the media game. You kind of were in that era of 16 and 17, now being in the media game now in this new era. What do you think of the current state of the activity right now?
Of the activity in regards to media or just the activity in general?
I guess, yeah, like the overall landscape of kind of where we're at right now, just
Okay.
as how drum corps is operating, how the people are, just all of that.
Yeah. So, um, drum corps specifically. Now, the marching arts is a whole nother story because like WGI finals just grows and grows every year.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Drum corps is in a tough spot. Um,
Hmm.
Drum corps is really expensive. Because the cost of maintaining a drum corps is just outrageously expensive. The
Yes.
cost of just simply getting 3 buses around the country is really tough. Um,
Hmm.
and the cost of fuel goes up, the cost of food goes up every summer. The cost of a to run a drum corps now is like I would say probably twice as much as it was just a few years ago. Um,
Yeah.
and without raising tour fees, it's just not possible. And
Hmm.
that's tough because it kind of prices out a lot of students who want to do this. Um, I would love to see more scholarship opportunities, sponsorships, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, it's in a tough spot, but I think there are enough people that are super passionate about this that we're going to get out of it. We're going to
Hmm.
figure out something. I don't think everyone is just going to sit down and let the activity die because
No.
I think it was really inspiring for me to see the return of Santa Clara Vanguard and the fact that I'm working on a tour. We've got a show and like we've got a
Hmm.
uniform and we're thinking about uniform reveals and just normal media team drum corps things for a drum corps that almost didn't exist a year ago.
Right.
So like let that be the success story of you can figure it out and you can bring this back.
We can make
Um,
it.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't want people to see drum corps folding and think the activity is just over. Um,
No.
I truly think there are enough people out there who care enough about this that it's something we can figure out. But I think it's also a little foolish to not acknowledge it.
Hmm.
Not just be like, no, drum corps is fine. Well,
It's
it's not.
probably the biggest complaint though across the community right now I see online, and then also the people I've had on the podcast. Every time I kind of talk about this, like the state of the activity right now, the number one thing that people go to is just like it's unaccessible financially. Like it's
Yeah.
just so hard as a kid growing up now. Like I
Hmm.
bring this up a bunch, but me and my brother, I he marched his age out in 16. I marched my first year. Both of our tour fees, we talked about it when he came on the podcast. Like our tour fees in 2016, both of ours put together is like the cost of one person
I
doing a
know.
summer now. And
Yep.
it's wild. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what everyone, and it should be talked about. Cause it's just like, it's becoming so hard that certain kids who want to do it, like you're talking about, it's just getting priced out. It's almost like a
Hmm.
restriction where it's like, the worry used to be am I going to go to an audition? Like, am I going to go
Yeah.
audition and like, am I going to take the chance? Am I going to go do it? And now it's like, we don't even have the money. Like,
Yeah.
we just don't have the facilities for that. But like you said, I don't think that where we're at right now, especially, I think the support of the drum corps community is probably at an all-time high. I think people would probably be like surprised to hear that. I don't know, but like I think the support of it to keep going and for these groups, like now doing this podcast and seeing so much more of like the marching arts media and DCI media, there's so much more support now than ever of
Mhm.
keeping this around for the experience that you get to have. And I'm glad it is that way because I think now with the new change of leadership up top, not trying to plug myself, we did have the CEO of DCI on the podcast. And I'm just very excited to see what they do. It's not going to all happen at once, but so far I think they just did like a sock sponsorship. They just sponsored with somebody, I forgot
Mhm.
which company, but they just announced small things like this where it's just along the way, if we can pick up sponsorships along the way and we have this new leadership with the mind of like we need to market this activity, we need to get some money back in the pockets of this thing so we can keep this thing alive. I think all the right moves are being made right now, but it takes time.
Mhm.
But I'm really excited to see that the steps are being taken to kind of to bring this back to some like a baseline of like normalcy,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of saying something like
Mhm.
that. My last little question here. I always find it funny because whenever I ask it, everyone's just like, "Oh my god!" It's like life shattering. My last little question I like to ask everybody who comes on the podcast is, what does drum corps mean to you?
Oh gosh.
See,
Great
every
question.
time,
Great
every
question.
time, say it's like, oh,
Yeah. Drum corps changed my life.
yeah,
So, you know, high school marching band was neat and I loved it.
mhm,
And I knew it was something that was going to be really hard to give up, which is why I ended up
yeah,
doing college band. But drum corps was another story for me. That and winter guard
yeah,
are two things that I would love to be able to do for the rest of my life.
mhm,
Truly. Um, will I be able to tour forever? Not necessarily, but
mhm,
um, I can't imagine a year where I'm not watching shows and going to DCI finals and staying involved in that capacity. Um,
absolutely.
I say that, but every year since I started, I've ramped up how involved I am. It's like in 3 days or 4 days, I'm leaving for WGI finals and working the entire event. I'm working guard, winds, percussion. Every year I ramp up how involved I am. So like,
Yeah, and
I
you're
don't
definitely
know.
working for, like, 4 different organizations for media right now, just having
Yeah,
a
it's
hand in everything, so it's like, "Guys, I'm
um
gonna get out of it soon, but let me just."
no, it's funny because it's true. Working for like multiple winter guards and the drum corps, it's like I thought I sent you that. Wait, no, that was the other group I work for. Um, kind of
My
thing.
bad, my bad.
I thought I finished that video. Or you'll send a video you made for one group to the other, and they're like, "Who the hell is this? Like, this isn't one of our Ageouts." Um, so I'm like, "Oh, sorry, that's for my winter guard."
Oh my goodness,
So
that's funny.
no, yeah, every year I feel like I'm just more involved. But drum corps is, I feel like for me, the perfect intersection between what I love doing, which is storytelling and storytelling through visual media.
Yeah,
And then drum corps is the thing I'm passionate about. So I feel like I've been able to combine those two things, and it's I don't think there's anything I enjoy more on earth, like in this life, than telling the story of drum corps.
that's
That's
amazing.
truly the thing that I am the most passionate about, and I'm so glad I found that opportunity with Blue Knights last summer, who kind of gave me a chance because I was pretty new to this.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's such a hard question to answer because I don't really know how to put that into words.
Yeah, because
That
there's
that
you've seen it from so many different perspectives too.
that has been the drum corps has been the single biggest influence on my life. Um, and it's hard to say everything that's affected because I feel like it's affected every single thing about
Everything.
me. Everything.
Yeah.
It's a I guess drum corps to me it's everything. It's everything that it's just it's had a hand in everything that I do.
It's really cool to see it's cool to hear everybody's answer about it because everybody usually has a different perspective on
Mhm.
it. Like for me, oh, I have such a dry throat right now. I'm sorry. I am not gonna like try to power through this. I will cough everywhere. I'm
Oh,
putting a
you're
piece of
good.
gum in my mouth. Guys, listen. I'm being strong, I'm being brave. Okay. Listen, my throat's gonna dry. I will cough all over the mic right now. But I think it's really cool to always hear people's perspective on it, just because everyone's had a different journey in drum corps. That's why I think this is cool, because you get to hear everybody's story about how they got to where they are now. And for you, like, quick little question, but did you ever see yourself doing media when you were
Oh
performing?
gosh, no.
Exactly, and it's
Not
just
at
like the
all.
routes that people are taking now. Like the guest
Yeah.
I just had on last week was Dan Hoffman, and now like he had been around the activity since 2010, and he performed from 2012 to 2015. Taught me from 16 to 18. He taught from 19 to 22. So I mean, around it in some like aspect for 10 years, and then he was just like, this career is now just turned into a hobby, and it's like it's here, and it's just cool to see everybody have their own. Some people have nothing to do with the activity anymore, but still just
Mhm.
credit, like, without this thing, I don't know where, I don't know if I would be here. There's people I know who like work at NASA now, just work all over the place, and just be like, but without drum corps, don't know where I would be.
Yeah.
I just think it's always really cool to hear somebody's perspective on it. But wrapping up, this has been an incredible episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Sam, and thank you for letting me ask all
Oh
my
yeah.
dumb questions, because it's just so cool to hear about this, because and I feel like I got to learn a lot today, and that's why I was really excited about this. Is like so much of this is going to be just me asking, like, just trying to learn, honestly, just because you guys, the media team, do so much for these drum corps in terms of like marketing and promoting these cores. So it's just like you guys need your shine too, just as much as the performers, just as much as the staff. The media team needs the respect too. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. This has been a blast.
Appreciate
Um,
it. It's been great.
where can we find you? Where can we find you? Just like socials, TikToks, anything, like where are you gonna be like this summer, wherever? Just like
Mhm.
what you got going on?
So one is my main platform is Instagram at Mohler Media, SMOHLER Media.
Hell yeah.
That's where I'm the most active. TikTok, TikTok. Can you fucking edit that out? Oh my god.
Michael, you have to
Hey,
keep that in there.
Michael, fix that, please.
Michael, you have to keep it in.
All right.
Ticked
Okay.
hard, dude.
Ticked hard. All right. So Instagram, I just said this thing about Instagram, right? And then
Uh-huh.
on TikTok, you can find me at same thing, S Miller Media. This summer, I will have a bit of a hand in the TikTok at SC Van or at Santa Clara Vanguard. So you will
Hell
want to
yeah.
keep up with that.
Go
We've
follow
got
the
some
TikTok.
really, really fun things planned for this summer that we won't be able to do till we're with the full drum course. So stay tuned for that. Um, if if anyone's listening to this who maybe wants to have a hand in media someday or something they thought about and you see me at a show, please
Hmm.
ask. We
Yeah.
love mentoring people. We love helping and answering questions. We want this to be something where it's collaborative, not competitive. We want to
Yeah.
tell the story of drum corps and help each other. So anyone who is listening to this and maybe has a question, just know that most of us, I'd say all of us, are always willing to answer questions. Um,
Hmm.
Want to give a plug to the Discord Marching Arts Media, which if you want an
Yeah.
invite, find a marching arts media person and ask them for an invite.
Me.
Yeah. So, but that's where we do all the the networking and the connections and things, and just that's
Hmm.
a place where you can drop a photo and be like, "What do you guys think?" And that's the only place where you're gonna really get feedback from like the
The
photographer
best
for
people.
Flow Marching and the photographer for
Yeah.
Blue Devils, and those are guys who
Yep.
are gonna give you feedback and tell you how it is. And can't think of many communities where that's possible.
That
Um,
is awesome.
so that's something that like truly, if anyone who wants to be a part of that is welcome, 100%.
Hell yeah. That is awesome. Well, with that, guys, go check out Sam. Go check out the Santa Clara Vanguard TikTok. Go see Sam this summer. Ask about media. Get involved. I love this shit. I might go see Sam. I'm just gonna go ask questions. I'm just gonna go see everything and be like, I just want to take a picture.
Yeah, come to a show.
But this has been so much fun. Thank you, Sam, for coming on. Anything else from me? Kind of said this at the end of the last episode, but I recently kind of posted about this. As I'm recording, this is on Friday. I'm gonna kind of take the weekend to kind of shell out the details for our new like performer summer series that I kind of just posted about within this past week as I'm recording. So already been hearing a lot of responses about that from people. Super cool to see people responding on the Google form. That is in the bio of our Instagram and YouTube channel. Both those pages, they're in the bio. The links are there. I'll put the link to the form, the Google form, to fill that out to kind of be a part of that series. That'll be in the description of this video. Go check out the video I have on Instagram, just kind of promoting that, see what it's all about. I'll shell out the details and make a whole video for what it'll all be, and it's in like, totality, whatever. But other than that, this has been episode 22 of the Meet the Bus podcast. Sam, thank you so much for coming on. This was an incredible episode, and thank you guys for watching. This has been episode 22, and we will see you guys next week. Bam.